welcome to Directly to You. It's the 143rd episode of Directly to You. Directly to You. What is that, you may say? It's our podcast. Who are we? We're fanatixfour. I'm AJ of fanatixfour. I'm joined by Parker of fanatixfour. You can support both of us in the channel that we have, in the podcast, and the videos that we make by going to youtube.com/fanatixfour, twitch.tv/fanatixfour, and giving $4.99. Or if you're on Twitch specifically, you can link your Amazon account, if you got Amazon Prime, to your Twitch account for Prime Gaming. And not just your Amazon Prime account. I know your mom probably got one. If you don't got one, she's not watching Twitch, dude. Your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, they don't all watch Twitch. So you can be like, yo, can I link my Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account to get a free subscription to get the Fanatics4 on Jeff Bezos' dime?
Or if you're Mr. Robot, just hack into all of Twitch, get all of the Twitch Primes that aren't already being used, and give them to us, because hacking is the solution. So
Right. Robin Hood or something like that. I'm sure Robin Hood likes Prime Gaming.
That's right.
But for subscribing, which I just start, I'm going to put it in the Twitch titles every time I stream now, like ! Discord. You can join our Discord if you're, well, you can join it anyway, regardless of if you're a subscriber or not, but you get access to supporters on Discord. You get gaming time with us, which I think at least one stream per week. After the stream, I'm gonna chill out for a little bit with people in the Discord and play something.
Nice.
Smash Brothers we did this week. Maybe something else next week. Who knows? Free Switch keys from time to time. All that fun stuff. Oh, loyalty badges, emotes, etc., etc. Which also, because we have a certain amount of subs, there's enough subs to get more slots. I need to get more emotes made. So that should be fun. If you got any suggestions, I have one slot you can't say nothing about. I'm making a Parker emote. That's one slot, but we still have, I think, 2 more slots after that that we can fill. So if you have any ideas, let me know. But other than that, video games. Are you playing video games?
Video games, yeah, man, playing some. I mentioned like a billion last week, and for the most part, I'm still playing most of the same ones. So that's some Immortals, Phoenix Rising. Played a bunch more Hyrule Warriors. I just unlocked a character that I'm not going to spoil characters, I guess, still, but I don't even know how to. Whatever. I like it. I like him a lot. He's very cool. That is all. Whatever. So that's fun. I don't know. I don't know if I should spoil characters or not, but whatever. I'm enjoying this character a lot. So there's that. And then play more Pikmin 3. That one's continuing to be fun. The only new one that I've played since last time, in addition to, again, more Fallen Order and some other stuff on Game Pass. Maybe I started something new on Game Pass, but I don't know. But the main thing that I'm going to talk about is Monster Hunter Rise demo. I played it last night. They had a thing on, like a presentation on Thursday. And it was cool. I watched it. It's something where I can imagine being a Monster Hunter fan watching it, and I don't know if for a Monster Hunter fan that was that's all the things we wanted to know, or if it's sometimes watching Animal Crossing Direct or something. Okay, bad example because I didn't know anything about Animal Crossing either. But if I were to watch Breath of the Wild 2 Direct and they told me 3 things but didn't answer all these other questions, or if they did a Super Mario 3D World 1 but they didn't talk about Bowser's Fury at all, then I'd be like, well, what about the Bowser's Fury, So I'm curious for Monster Hunter fans if this covered all the questions they had or not, but probably, because a demo came out of it. So now we get to play it. So so that's cool. But I played the demo and I used the insect glaive for anybody who knows what that is. Just sounded cooler than some of the other ones.
Isn't that the one where you shoot the bug at people, man?
Apparently, I told Mitch afterwards that I used it, and he said, "Oh, cool. So that's a more technical one. So did you use any of the bug stuff? Whatever. I mean, he used the right word. The bug stuff, or I know you get extra damage from aerial attacks or whatever." And I was like, "Dude, I didn't even know how to jump while I was fighting."
Button, dude.
Straight up, yeah. I was I swung the thing and I beat the monster. So I very much don't know what I'm doing, but at the same time, it was great. Yeah, I enjoyed playing it. I liked I'd played the demo for Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate once, and I very much am glad that it's a seamless world now, like Monster Hunter World
Yeah.
was, because the loading time thing is like
Annoying.
antiquated. Like,
Yeah.
it would have been so annoying. So being able to see like
it's funny how that was like another one of those like Pokemon does, where
100%,
like
yep.
if they changed that, it wouldn't be the same, and it would change the gameplay, and you wouldn't be able to strategize in between areas. Like you're an idiot. Like,
yeah. So I'm very glad that it's like that, because otherwise, it just feels, I don't know, it feels better this way. So that's fun. And I think one of the things I'm looking forward to figuring out better, obviously the combat and all that stuff, but like resource management and learning, like I did not know what items were out there and did what or any of that kind of stuff, but it was still fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. I already know Max and Brad and some other people and Mitch have all said we need to play it together, so I'm probably going to be playing the demo multiple times.
Nice.
We'll see what happens.
I want to play with Ian. I'll play with Max. I don't care. If you want to play when me and Ian play and we can get Max to play, we can all play that on stream. I don't know if it's going to be this weekend, but we could do it sometime next week. And that could be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, by the way, everybody that didn't know, I stream regularly now. I think that for sure, the schedule's probably going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I feel like that works. Especially like with our schedule and how that works. Because like when I'm done with my video, I can chill out for a few hours, then stream. And then on Wednesday, that's a pretty free day. I don't really have to do anything on Wednesday. Then Thursday, similar to Tuesday. And then I might stream on Saturdays when I'm not like doing anything, going anywhere. But that's a freebie day. That's like maybe not, probably not, but maybe, like. So yeah, that's the schedule, and maybe one of those days if you're free. Ian already said that he's down. I talked about it because again, it was the thing of like it might be done, it might be out. Yesterday. So I was like, yo, if it comes out today, let's do it. But by the time it came out, I literally like just got done streaming. So I was like, I'm not, and it was already like a longer stream than I usually do because I streamed Among Us a little bit with Scootish, which let me tell you, that was very boring. It was very boring because it's like Among Us for me, every time I've played it and have had fun with it, it's always when I know most of the people in the game because it's like the fun for me is like learning new tales and like how you're trying to lie about stuff and like the whole experience with that. I literally only knew Scootish. And like it would be a thing of like I'm playing the game, they all have their own rapport and they're like, you did this because you usually play like blah blah blah, and I'm just sitting there.
There's like a meta within that community that's
exactly and it's like every time I'm crew, so it's like there's not even a reason to really suspect me because I'm not doing anything that they would suspect. They already suspect each other just by existing. So it's like every round I was like, this is boring. Like I would die and just be done with my task and just be sitting there for the whole thing. And it, like chat was bored, I was bored. I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna stay for like an hour and then I'm eating and I'm playing Smash. So yeah, I did that. That's not something I'm going to do in the future. Among Us is not a good idea unless most of the people there. IMO.
No, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Also, I've been streaming Breath of the Wild. I started a new thing in Breath of the Wild. There's a Q&A thing about that later. And I thought, and I talked to you in the DMs about this a little bit, where it's like I thought this game was going to suck to stream because like single player games suck to stream. And like I ran into a thing where it's like this is a test for if this is going to suck to stream, where I was like I was doing one of the puzzles, and just how I played the Breath of the Wild the first time and how I'm going to continue to play it this time. I was doing the puzzle where it's like the fallen, like the boulders, like the fallen boulders or whatever. Use the water thing and blah blah blah. I was trying to do it where I was basically racing the ball to push it into the thing, whereas there's like a thing where you could just literally do the rune and keep the ice pillars there in place. I was like, I'm not going to do that. It's not as fun. So like chat was like more so being encouraging, which was the thing of like, oh shoot, like okay, I thought I was going to hate this game, but
I mean, I guess that's the nice thing with Breath of the Wild too, is like because there's so many different ways to do things, and because people are honestly expect to see different ways of doing things. We're like seeing all the shrine skips or whatever. Like it's kind of fun watching someone be like, I'm gonna do this super not normal just because it's fun. So like, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm glad to hear that.
It's
It's
true.
a good game.
It's true.
That's
It's true. That's true. It is a good game.
And so where are you in the game at this point?
I just got to the Zora domain,
Gotcha.
which
And that's the first one that you're going to.
that's the first one. I didn't even choose to do that. I wanted to go to freaking get my Sheikah Slate upgraded, but I ran into a Zora, and they're like, and it was a different, because this happened to me when I played the game the first time.
Yeah.
But I ran into Sidon, and he was like, "Yo, man, my freaking village is getting destroyed. You gotta help me out." And I'm like, all right, fine, I'll do that. But I'm just going in a whole other direction. And a random Zora was like, yo, I don't know if you saw Sidon, but stuff's going down, dude. And I'm like, yo, I didn't even know you existed. Like, this is an encounter I did not know is in this game. And then it happened again when I was going to, like, I was going in the direction that I wanted to go. And then again, they're like, hey, man, I don't know if you've seen any of us, but like, stuff's going down, dude. Yeah. And I'm like, ugh. So then I went there. Which I was still trying to work in the direction of where I was getting the Sheikah Slate upgraded. But I just happened up on top of like the mountain or whatever near where the Lionel, like on the path up where it's like it's storming and there's like the freaking the Zalfos that are like shooting you with the
zigzaggy path up and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's what I was doing. So I'm there. I'm at that place.
Cool. Nice. Man, I need an excuse. Honestly, I've been more nostalgic to go back and play some other games recently than maybe ever for no good reason. Like, and random, like Octopath Traveler, I was like, I should go back and play that. There was something else that I was like, I didn't even like that game. Why am I nostalgic to go back and play? I mean, not that I don't remember what it was, but it's just funny. So
Mario
I'm glad you're
Rabbids,
enjoying it.
We all know.
Yeah. No, that's a fun one. I liked it. Cool. You playing anything else?
Yu-Gi-Oh! Smash.
Yeah. I might pull out your Yu-Gi-Oh! At some point and play it, because like playing a card game right now just sounds like a fun time. So
I just got through, because like there's the whole, there's like the campaigns where it's like all the different stories of all the different anime and stuff like that. I don't know any of them except for the first two. The first two I like know what happens up into a point with the second season or the second series. But the rest of them I was just playing through just to get the points, because there's just a way to get currency to buy more cards. And I 100% cleared the normal duels, and then there's like the inverse duel where it's like the regular duels like Yu-Gi-Oh! Versus Pegasus, and then the inverse is like, but what if you were Pegasus though? But for this, when I played the series that I know, I did like the story decks, and I was like, I know these, so it's like I understand these cards, and like that'd be more neat. But like once I got to the stuff that I didn't know, I was like, I'm just using a deck that I already know. So it was like once I got to that point where I was like using my own custom deck, like the first run through when I was doing the story stuff, it would be like 10 plus turns or whatever. It's like, oh man, that was a hard fought battle. But then once I had a deck that I made, it's like the first 3 turns they're done. It's like
nice. Man, I was watching, for some reason, some Yu-Gi-Oh! Recently, just like season 1. And there was one where he's battling some guy who like uses the darkness and something and whatever. And the guy straight up at the end is like, oh yeah, well, I'm just going to flame you. And like, straight up,
you're talking about
like,
Panic.
Yes,
Panic.
It was Panic.
Yeah.
And just straight up like tries to
this man,
murder him with fire. And I was like, dude, this is...
See, but that's the thing. Like in Japan, that's what it, like the Shadow Realm is an American thing. That doesn't exist in Japan. In Japan, it's like, you're going to die here. If you lose this card game, you're getting murdered.
Wait, what? Maybe I don't know what the Shadow Realm is.
The Shadow Realm is like their patch for the Japanese equivalent of like, you're just going to die. Like, you're going to die. But in America, they made up the Shadow Realm where it's like your soul will be trapped in the Shadow Realm, because that's like different from dying. Yeah. Your soul can be saved. But in the Japanese version, it's like, no, you got murdered, dude. I'm sorry. That's where there's
cards happen.
That's why there's like points in the anime where it's like there's people that's like pointing their fingers and their hands at because there's guns in their hand, but they colored it out on the Western version.
That's so funny.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh!
Man.
Something else, dude. Card
Man,
games
no kidding.
are real out there in the anime world, dude.
Speaking of anime, though, I not specifically anime, but we watched Alice in Borderland, I think is what it was called. I know it was either Alice in Borderland or in Borderlands, and that's what I don't remember. But it's pretty much, I think it was a manga or a graphic novel or something like that they did in a live action TV show. And yeah, long story short, it's good, and we're very interested in season 2. Basically, the premise is like main 3 dudes are friends, and then they disappear. Like they're hanging out in Tokyo, and then Tokyo suddenly, like everybody else is gone, and then they're in some alternate dimension, I guess, something, where they're forced to play these games, like pretty much death games, where like if they survive the game, then they get a certain amount of days to stay there and stuff. And there's some other people that are there as well. But yeah, it's crazy. But it was a lot of fun. Ashley and I enjoyed
Sounds
it.
like anime, dude. Sounds like anime.
Very much so. So yeah, it's a good time. And also moving into the news, here we go. There was a data mine, or maybe a leak, or maybe just a rumor, who knows, about a Switch Pro.
What?
It's like we've been talking about for forever. Yeah, so this might be the first time that there's been an actual like data mine about it. I don't really know.
I mean, sorta, you know, because like there have been like a very similar thing where it's like code names and stuff in the OS code where it's like there's not a Switch with these specs. Why is it in the OS?
ABCD, that whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Which don't sound so fake if you don't know the context. Let me I'll share my screen so we can show some of this real quick. But yeah, it seems worth talking about. And we'll just talk about some of this and say whether or not it seems reasonable or realistic or any of the above. So reference to an upgraded Nintendo Switch model has reportedly been found within the console's latest firmware update, seemingly strengthening reports that a Pro console will be released this year. And so the details come via known data miner Skurs M, whatever, some guy who claims that the firmware makes reference to a new hardware codenamed Aula. Aula reportedly uses a Americo chip, which is the same one that's in the Switch Lite and the updated battery life Switch, which is the same. Oh, it says that right there, which is the same one used in Switch Lite in 2019 revision. While this by itself doesn't suggest improved performance, Series M suggests it will be pushed to higher clock speeds, and that the firmware also references support for Realtek chip, which advertises itself as a 4K UHD multimedia SoC. Previous reports have indicated that a Switch Pro will support 4K resolution. As for this physical, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Including that part, I feel like is shifting the narrative in a direction that it shouldn't.
Right. Yeah.
Because, like the 4K UHD multimedia system on a chip, that could literally just mean you could stream Netflix in 4K on your Switch now. That could literally just mean that. But people are like 4K Switch games.
And I mean, also the chip in and of itself could be something that supports 4K, but that doesn't also necessarily mean that that's going to be how it advertises itself within the Switch itself. You know, it could be, there's, like, for all we know, but
that get disabled on chips all the time,
right?
Where it's like this supports this theoretically, where you could play a game in freaking 480, 120 hertz.
Yeah,
but that's probably disabled, you know, like that sort of situation.
I mean, prime example, just that the Americo chipset could technically be stronger than it is right now already on the Switch, but it's not for various reasons, mostly for battery life purposes. So that we'll get back to that, but continuing on, as for the physical hardware, it's claimed that the Aula model will definitely have an upgraded display in the form of an OLED screen. Series M notes that the display is probably not a higher resolution on the tablet itself. Notes that the display is probably not a higher resolution on the tablet itself, and speculates that the 4K Realtek chip might be within the new model's dock, allowing for 4K resolution when played on a television. In addition, the firmware supposedly
and if that's the case, I definitely think that this is, unless it's more than just that chip in the dock, I think that it's likely for streaming video more than it is for games. Because I don't know if just that single chip would be enough.
I want to say too, though, and I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure this Switch, as it can stream 4K as it is, as far as like Netflix, Hulu kind of thing. I don't think it's not enabled that it's allowed to my memory, but that it technically could on what it is. So them moving over to this, like if they really do use this chip or whatever, it would suggest to me that it's probably going to do something more with that than just like Netflix can now stream on 4K, because that's not like Netflix hasn't been a selling point for the Switch in the first place, you know. So even if that is possible, but yeah. In addition, the firmware supposedly suggests substantially better cooling and battery life for Aula. Multiple outlets have reported that Nintendo is preparing to launch new Switch hardware, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, just, and pretty much the rest of it is kind of a recap of what we already know. Yeah.
Make it worth posting as an article.
Right, exactly, yeah. So, all right, so yeah, what's your overall thoughts on that?
I think it's just telling us what we already knew. You know, like there's no like huge great groundbreaking stuff there. Like if it is 4K, I don't expect it to out of nowhere be like this is on par with Series X, and you know, like it's not going to be that. Yeah. It's going to be new Nintendo 3DS probably. You know?
Yes, I think best case scenario out of this honestly is that it has a better battery, better screen, and that because of those things they. Well, and maybe, you know, the 4K chip in the dock. So those three things combined could make it so that the chip that's already in it can be pushed harder while staying cool and having long battery life. Because right now, if they push the Miracle chip harder, then battery life would just fall back down again, which is like, that was the whole point of the revision, was to have better battery life. So they could do that. And then also the screen would look better. And then best case scenario, again, is that they start using some kind of, I don't know a lot about it other than I've heard other people talking about it, but the DLSS AI upscaling kind of stuff. And I don't even know how that works, to be honest. I haven't done the research to know if it's real-time upscaling or if it's like, I don't know. I just don't know, you know, like, cause it feels like,
if it's DLSS, I'm pretty sure that's like real time.
Okay, gotcha.
It's not like something that's like you develop around, like you put it in your games engine or whatever to upscale it within that.
Right, because otherwise it would just be a harder performing game anyway if it was just in the game. So, yeah. So I guess, is it like a different, or maybe that's what this chip is for, is like the 4K chip is the thing that like holds the DLSS or something like that?
Yeah, because like, at least to my understanding, it's kind of like, so a hardware can be like physically capable on a computing level to run something in 4K, right? But you still need to encode that footage.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother part of it, which is why like now a good analogy is like when I was looking into computers to stream games, right? A lot of people were saying to not get a Mac Pro. Because Mac Pros don't have the built-in hardware to encode video. So they actually perform worse at streaming than the lower end Macs, because they all have these T2 chips in them that are for encoding video. They handle all the brunt of all that. So, you know, they do all the processing. Whereas with the Mac Pro, since it doesn't have that chip, it has to use all of its resources to try to do the same thing.
So splitting it up, ideally, in this case, would be the way to achieve better performance.
Right, because these chips are going to be more tailor-made to do the processes that are necessary, rather than like trying to commit resources that aren't meant for that, but they're just going to push their way through just on the fact that they're powerful.
Right, yeah. I mean, which is like the whole thing, like Cyberpunk running on PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Or just like, emulation. Emulation is a good example of that, right?
Exactly.
Where it's like, even though PlayStation 2 is more powerful than a PlayStation 1, it's not powerful enough to emulate PlayStation 1.
Or similarly with like, that's why you can't play PS3 games on PS4, is because like the hardware is not set that it can do it, and the PS3 is super hard to emulate from what it sounds like. So
that's why most
yeah.
systems like the Wii U that
Yeah.
do have some level of backward compatibility, they just straight up have the chip for the
Yeah.
other console in them.
Yeah.
Or a
Okay,
very
yeah.
similar chip that's just more powerful.
Right. So to you, I mean, the interesting thing here is like, I don't know, where is there anywhere that shows proof that they actually found this? You know, like, because I
mean,
haven't.
beyond. I think that this is just a matter of like stuff like when Emily Rogers leak happens, right? Where it's like she's been right before, you know, that
Yeah.
sort of
Right. Yeah. I mean, and there's seemingly probably people that if he can find it or if they can find it, then somebody else could find it too. And, you know, if they know where to look. So probably it's been backed up at this point. Otherwise, we wouldn't all be talking about it. But I mean, yeah, it seems like, you know, seemingly enough, just more credit to the whole Switch Pro thing of some variety happening this year. So that's cool. When actually I'll wait to ask the when will it come out question until a little bit later when we'll talk about something else. But for now, let's talk about Next Level Games is being bought by Nintendo.
It's true. It's true. This is wild. And like it doesn't like in a vacuum, it doesn't seem all that wild. Like as far like if you look at the gaming space, it's like Microsoft just bought
Nintendo's buying Nintendo games.
Yeah, exactly. But it's crazy because Nintendo doesn't do that.
Yeah,
Nintendo doesn't do. They've done that in recent memory twice, and it was both times. Well, this is more similar to Monolith than it is to Retro, because Retro they did because they were like backed into a corner.
Yeah,
and if they didn't do it, it was going to be a lot of money just thrown down a drain. With Monolith, it was like, we believe in this, our values are aligned, you're wanting to leave, you know, so we'll buy you out. With Next Level Games specifically, they were ready to sell to somebody, and Nintendo's like, well, we got to buy you because we don't want you to get bought by somebody that's not going to like let you work for us. So it's a good move on that end. I think that this is like a thing because everybody's like, oh, they bought Next Level Games. Mario Strikers? I don't think that at all, because it's like if they wanted to make Mario Strikers, they can make Mario Strikers. I definitely think that this is like a move of like the fact that they believe in the studio now because they did Luigi's Mansion 3.
Right.
I think Luigi's Mansion 3 single-handedly is like, oh yeah, we're buying them. Because it's like, it's a super technically impressive game and it sold really well. So it's like, yeah, this studio has a lot of value to us. So we can work them into our workflow and their games can improve even more because we don't have to like do the whole like separation of you're a separate company. So we had to like, you know, certain bureaucratic things going down where we can't get down to the metal on certain issues.
I mean, it's like Retro working, helping out with Mario Kart 8 or whatever other games they helped with and stuff like, or Monolith Soft similarly doing that kind of thing. Like those are teams that obviously they know have a lot of experience with and just like technical proficiency with these things where like, that's not the main reason they bought them. Obviously, the main reason they bought them now seems to be that they were looking to be bought, you know, and then they were like, all right, well, there's enough good reasons to do it that we're going
of
to.
all of this stuff, sure, we'll buy you.
Exactly, right. Yeah. So, I mean, but yeah, I think it could, the benefit of it could very well mean that games come out from them a little bit faster because they have resources from Nintendo that can help support them even more than I'm sure they already had some of that. Like, you know, like obviously Koei Tecmo had resources for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Like there's no way.
It's just they get more priority now because when you're at freaking EPD and you're like, okay, how are we going to allocate our resources? How are we going to assign our developers? Are we going to give more developers to a studio that we don't own? Or are we going to give it to the one that we do? You know, so it's like at that point they don't really have to worry about the size of the game that they're making because that's something that can help you cut the line. If it's like, I mean, yeah, we own freaking Retro, but they're working on the DK port, so we're going to give Sega more resources because they're working on Bayonetta, you know, like that sort of situation.
Yeah.
Now it's like, well, we own them and also they're working on a decent sized game. So we'll give them more resources than we would give Sega, you know?
Yeah. I'm curious. Okay. In your opinion, what do you think would be the next game to come out of Next Level Games then?
I don't think it's going to be Luigi's Mansion. I think that it's probably going to be like a new IP, or not necessarily a new IP, but a new IP for them. Whether that be Nintendo IP that hasn't seen a new game in a while, or just an entirely new IP. But I think it's probably, I think most likely we're going to see a new IP that's like dormant. On.
I mean, obviously, as a community, we know that one of the things Luigi's Mansion 3 did so well was just graphically, it just looked really good and like was well done technically. And that's something that like seems to matter more specifically within Western studios than it does within Japanese studios, for Nintendo at least, where like retro, that's a huge deal. And obviously here, that's a huge deal as well. So it would make sense for them to give them another IP that like would benefit from. Yeah, right.
So they can, for like it seems like I could definitely see that, where it's like it looks like they're investing in Metroid Prime 4 a lot, and they want it to be their like Uncharted, you know, their God of War, and that in the whole package way, right? Because it's like Breath of the Wild, it's that in terms of like spectacle and like how big of a project it is and all that other stuff, but narratively it's not, you know. It's not like a blockbuster in that way, which
it's more like a family video in that way. Yeah. Just kidding. Family videos, I think, actually not around anymore. That's sad. There's one that we used to go to in college that's around the corner. But I say around the corner. It's like 20 minutes away, so it was actually always a pain to like bring stuff back.
Around a lot of corners, dude.
Yeah. Several corners, indeed.
Whole bunch of corners.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like Star Fox would be, I mean, again, I think it's likely enough that we'd get a new Star Fox this year, maybe next year or whatever. So at that point, I wouldn't expect it out of them. But that would be one that I think would work with their team well.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, F-Zero or whatever.
I think really at this point, like if we look at what they've done, they could pick pretty much anything.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
They're not really a one-note studio. It's not like, they only work on platformers. So a platformer, you know. I could see them tomorrow be like, we're making a new Duck Hunt. Like, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So yeah, that's fun. The other part of this question too is, do you expect out of this that Nintendo will be buying any other studios anytime soon?
No. Yeah. I don't think that this is like, they didn't do this as, it's not a Microsoft thing where it's like part of our business strategy right now is to grow our development resources. They are just wanting to go as normal. If anything, I can see that like if they're going to try to acquire things, it's going to be, the Mario movie did really well, so we're going to acquire a studio to internally make all our movies instead of working with Illumination or whoever, right? Or say Universal Studios, something happens with that down the line. They're like, well, we're going to acquire our own land and it's really going to be Nintendo. I can see them investing in stuff like that more so than them going out of their way to acquire new studios. If something similar to this with like Grezzo or, you know, like a studio like that happens, Game Freak or whatever, which I doubt. Any studio that they have a close relationship with that's independently owned tries to sell to some, they're like just open season. Hey, we're trying to get bought out. Nintendo's going to probably buy them, but I don't think that they're seeking any relationships out like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've had plenty enough of the, like, second party relationships are just commonplace to them. Like they don't really treat them any different. I mean, they have to legally treat them differently than internal studios, but like in terms of, I don't know, the way that they make games and stuff like that and the importance to them, not necessarily.
Yeah.
So
that's something that I talked to you a little bit about, because Bob and Will talked about this with the whole second party thing and stuff like that. And they like read a Wikipedia article where it's like the Wikipedia article answers what it is sort of, but at the same time it doesn't, and it contradicts itself, and it explains why this whole second party thing is meaningless. And like all of the company, like the big three, at some point or another have been like, haha, second party. You're stupid for saying that, you know?
Yeah,
like,
right.
like more or less have directly been like, that's a stupid term. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense, because it's like either
Really,
they're
it's a
going to
third party that
it's
just
a
like,
third party studio working on a first party game.
right.
Second
Yeah.
party is just a term that was made up to make it easier to explain to an
Yeah.
audience of enthusiasts, you know?
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, there's no real distinction there. That's why a situation
Mhm.
like Rare can happen, where it's like, you know what, Microsoft, sure, we'll take that, because they have no allegiance to Nintendo outside of the games that they directly make for them.
Wait, didn't Nintendo owned
Nintendo had a
Microsoft
stake.
at the time? They just had a
No,
stake. They
no,
never
they had
owned
a
them.
stake in Rare, but they didn't own them.
For some reason, I thought they got bought out by,
No,
like,
I mean, partially they got bought out because
right?
Nintendo
Yeah, I
did
guess
have
so.
shares.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's usually the case with most companies that Nintendo works
right.
with. Is they'll buy a stake, but it's more of a gesture than it
Right.
is like them trying to actually have, you know, like a flag planted of like, this is ours. You know, it's like, no, we respect and we trust you and we think you're going places, so
Yeah.
we're gonna put our money where our mouth is. You know. But that doesn't mean like they don't own DNA, but they have a stake in them. It's that sort of situation. But yeah, second party is, if anything, if it has any meaning at all, it's a case by case thing. It's Banjo-Kazooie was a second party game. You know, Rare wasn't a second party studio. Banjo-Kazooie was second party, if anything. But it's this thing of like, it's a third party studio working on a first party game. Point blank, period. And the only reason why Nintendo specifically, because Microsoft, Sony, they're going to be more likely to say that, where it's like it's a third party studio working on a first party game. But Nintendo won't say that, because usually it's not that cut and dry with them. It might be a third party studio working on a first party game, but Nintendo EPD worked on Luigi's Mansion 3 too.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, it's that sort of situation. Nintendo EPD also worked on Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Yeah, like that sort of situation, where it's like it's an IP owned by another entity being like developed by a game company that has nothing to do with them, you know. But Nintendo still worked on it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's sad.
Yeah. I mean, Microsoft might have bought Rare, but they did not buy Nintendo, much as they may have tried. So that's something we found out apparently this week.
I feel like this is I don't know if I knew this, but I think that this is one of the things where it's like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I could see it happen. I definitely didn't. Yeah, I didn't know it.
Especially in that era, in the Ballmer era.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he has a big. Just buy the Nintendo.
Yeah.
Just buy the Nintendo energy.
I had never seen up until like less than a year ago him singing or the like jumping around to get on your feet.
Yeah.
I'd never seen that, and that was the best thing I've seen in my life. It's, if anybody hasn't seen it, I don't know what to look up. Just look up like Microsoft Get On Your Feet, and that you'll probably find it. But it's straight up the CEO of, well, no, not the CEO.
Well,
what was
anymore.
he? COO or something?
He was. I'm pretty sure he was a CEO back then.
Okay, gotcha. Of Microsoft,
and Bill Gates
in like
was the chairman or whatever.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, it was like in 2000 or 1999 or something like that, and he's straight up just like running around the stage singing "Get On Your Feet" with the song playing in the background and losing his mind. Like he's on some kind of drugs, maybe for real, but at least looks like it. So it's crazy. But yeah, long story short, they apparently tried to. Let's read some of these. Here's the full excerpt from Bloomberg. Bob McBreen, head of business development. The company we reached out to buy was EA. They said no thanks. And then Nintendo and Bacchus said Steve Ballmer made us go to meet with Nintendo to see if they would consider being acquired. They laughed their butts off. Like imagine an hour of somebody just laughing at you. That was kind of how that meeting went. Continuing on, says, we actually had Nintendo in our building in January 2000 to work through details of a joint venture where we gave them all the technical specs of the Xbox. The pitch was their hardware stunk, and compared to Sony PlayStation, it did.
No,
so the idea
I'm talking about you. Their hardware stunk.
No, it literally says that. That's the word.
Oh, okay. I thought he said sucked. I thought
No.
he said sucked like full article.
No, it literally says the pitch was their hardware stunk and
I was
compared
gonna say
to
you're not gonna say sucked now.
No. Their hardware sucked. And compared to Sony PlayStation, it did. So the idea was, listen, you're much better at the game portions of it with Mario and all that stuff. So why don't you let us take care of the hardware? But it didn't work out. Ballmer said, I remember loving their content. It's kind of a weird interview.
I used to love them until they turned it down.
But
you're not even that pretty anyway.
Oh man, I would have loved to have been in that room. But like I can imagine them going and like to them they're like, yeah, totally. Like their hardware is really bad. It sucks. So like we better go.
Yeah, man. We're Microsoft. Do we have all this money?
You know.
Money. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, though, even in retrospect, for them, knowing that this stuff happened with Nintendo and Sony when they were gonna make the Nintendo PlayStation or whatever, you know, that seems like a dead giveaway that it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
From an American company, especially.
Yep.
Man.
There's so many layers to that where it's like, no, this isn't a good idea. This is not a good idea at all.
Yeah. So there you go. There was that. The last news bit we've got is non-news, but we thought it'd be fun. Or I thought it'd be fun. I don't know how you feel about this at all. I put it in here. We're quickly going to go through. I'm going to share my screen again. This is there was a leak of the first Nintendo Direct this week, and it's super serious. It's happening next. No, that's Monday. Goodness gracious, guys, you're not doing it right. All right, doesn't matter.
I know. Why would you do it on Monday? That's actually enough time for us to make a video.
True. So yeah, it's for the record, this leak is very, very obviously fake. For
what
a lot
are
of
you
reasons.
talking about, dude?
It says internal use only and has Nintendo's logo. It's got to be real.
Dude,
right?
Splatoon 3 is definitely coming out. That's all I'm saying. Nintendo
So here's some of the
World Park
things.
Tour, dude.
Yep. So here's some of the things. Nintendo Switch Pro coming April 23rd.
Soft war, dude. I'm so ready for this soft war.
Oh, I know. Yeah. That's my favorite part. Like that's the just straight giveaway part is it says first party software without an E. So that's pretty bad. But yeah, Nintendo Switch Pro coming out April 23rd, 2021, and 4K TV support, a Dock Pro, Joy-Con Pro, Bluetooth audio support, high definition
what
screen.
are Joy-Con Pro? I want it.
That's the real question. I mean, ironically, several of these things, that's not too unrealistic of predictions for what the Switch Pro would be. Like, we don't know what it's going to be, obviously. So it could be super far off, but I
don't know if they would do. I don't know if they would call it the Dock Pro and the Joy-Con Pro. And, you know, like I can't see that.
Yeah,
it would just be here are Joy-Con. They're better now. Like,
yep. I mean, and also 256 gigs of flash storage. Like I still firmly believe that it's much more likely that it would be like maybe 64 gigs of flash storage and then just like an SD card for maybe upwards of 400 gigs because like that's not that expensive anymore now, especially if they can make deals on the back end.
Yeah, they're not going to do 256 gigabytes of internal storage where they can literally just pay $12 for a freaking, you know, well, we couldn't pay $12 for a 400 gigabyte SD card, but they could, you know, so it was like, it would be a lot easier for them to just bundle that like they used to do with the 3DSs where it's like, this one's 32 gigs. It's a 32 gigabyte SD card on the 3DS, you know, like that sort of thing.
Yep. So there's that stuff. The first party software, Nintendo World Park Tour. I don't know why they wouldn't put this in calling it war.
It's literally war. It
is war. You're right. That's a real word that exists. Yeah. First party software. Nintendo World Park Tour. Also, I mean, that probably is the real date, though. I'd guess, right? April 23rd, or do we not know?
What is this? They're talking about Super Nintendo World?
Yeah, I think so.
Because the way that this seemed like a game to me.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking it was like a tour of the park, but yeah, it's not called Super Nintendo World. I mean, they don't say Super Nintendo World here.
Yeah, that's exactly. It just says Nintendo World. It seems like this is freaking like Nintendo
Disneyland
Land
Adventure.
No, like a Nintendo Land sequel sort of situation.
Okay.
That's what this came off to me as.
Okay, I could see that then. Yeah, no. Mario Kart 9, spring 2021. No, absolutely no way. Splatoon 3, summer 2021.
And spring at that?
Yeah.
Like, they just came out with a new Mario Kart game 2-3 months ago. Like,
Splatoon 3, summer 2021. Technically possible. I don't predict it by any means, but technically possible. Super Mario Odyssey 2, holidays 2021. Sure, depends on theming and stuff of like if they do mostly.
But also, since when did they say holidays? Insert date. It's usually
100%.
holiday.
100% holiday. Yeah, no, it's definitely. I mean, we've starting at Soft War and earlier, it's not real, but yeah.
Yes.
Extra points.
It just there's so many things that's like this is blatantly obvious.
Which it's things that you wouldn't necessarily notice straight away, but like
I would.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm actually looking at this.
Right. Also with these things, it says whether they'll have a trailer and gameplay footage or trailer and software demo. The fact that they would have a software demo for Super Mario Odyssey 2 when it comes out in holiday and it's their first trailer ever for it, no. That's not how. Because
even when we first saw Mario Odyssey, we didn't even know what it was called.
Yep.
The main hook of the game, like Cappy wasn't it. They like changed footage so that Cappy wasn't in it. We
didn't see real gameplay for Breath of the Wild for like years, and even like close to when it came out, it was still. I mean, other than like we had E3 stuff, and
the Game Awards
and the Game Awards thing that was like super early stuff. Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, definitely not that. Fire Emblem Echoes Path of Radiance, which one? That's I guess a remake.
That's
right?
like two freaking. Well, I guess that they're trying to say like Fire Emblem Echoes is like the remake brand, like that's what they're saying. So because it's Fire Emblem Echoes,
right? I see. Because it's Path of Radiance. Yeah, it's the GameCube game. That's what I thought. But Fire Emblem Echoes, those were the 3DS remakes of earlier games, right?
The one that's like of Gaiden, that remake.
Gotcha.
So that this is them trying to big brain and be like, dude, this is the thing that's going to make it believable because it's smart.
And that coming out May, and then Metroid Resurgence fall 2021. Look at that. With the software demo.
Resurgence, returns, theming, dude. You get it?
Themes, indeed. And then moving on to third-party software. What's the software?
Yo, how come Nintendo's having a war, but third parties are still just putting games out? That's crazy.
What a crazy time in this world. Kingdom Hearts, a new Kingdom Hearts. I don't know anything about Kingdom Hearts, but the Kingdom Hearts stands all were like, this is like, it's
I too
confirmed.
saw Cam tweet.
Cam was like, no way, and not until at least 2022. Blah 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 blah. So I trust Cam. So there you go. Bayonetta 3, summer 2021.
This is the least crazy thing on here.
Yeah,
it's like Bayonetta 3. Like that's a game that I could equally see freaking winter 2024,
right?
Or spring 2021.
At this point, I feel like they've this would be the good play is have it come out 3 months after the the announcement for it or something like that. Don't make us wait that long between it.
Right.
That would be good. Shin Megami Tensei 5, blah blah blah, and then a bunch of. So the next ones are all like Switch Pro games. So I guess the idea that this person had is that the Switch Pro, which also possible. I'm not super against this, except for I think there's a lot more issues with it that actually won't be the case.
It's just the situation where people make a freaking action point games I want list,
Yeah.
in the format of a quote unquote official document, like that's the thing that gives it away. Because it's like all this stuff is stuff that we would be like, this would be cool, but like we're not going to sit here and be like, this is 1000% happening. Mark your
Right.
calendars. I saw this in Nintendo's offices. I broke in, dude, and I made it out with my life in this piece of paper.
Yep. So the premise here is that new like hardware intensive games would come out on Switch Pro and be in a cloud version on the regular Switch, which in some regards I could see that, except for the games that they're showing here are ones that I don't think would even be pared down. Like the amount stronger that you and I think the Switch Pro is going to be than the base model is not enough for these companies to bother putting these games on here. So for example, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and Resident Evil 3 Remake, maybe. Oh, hang on. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Watch Dogs Legions, Far Cry 6, RE2 Remake, RE3 Remake, Devil May Cry 5, Grand Theft Auto 5 Premium Edition, Call of Duty, Black Ops Cold War, Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Some of those, maybe, but more likely the companies just wouldn't bother, and also
I think it mostly depends on the engine there.
And then I think it's just the storage question too of like, if for the cloud version it doesn't matter, but like cartridges are still expensive. So like Grand Theft Auto 5 Premium Edition theoretically would be, over 100 gigs or something like that. Maybe less, but like definitely not down to 32 gigs.
If it's on the Switch Pro that's 4K 60 frames, then yes.
Then it is anyway. Yeah, exactly.
It would be 100 gigabytes. But if it's Grand Theft Auto 5 in the way that it would be possible, even just on because it doesn't even say just on the Pro.
That's right. You're right. Yeah.
It would just literally be the PlayStation 4. I mean, the PlayStation 3 version, know?
So there's all those. That's pretty much the end of it. Then there's like just a big list of some other things, like sizzle reel or something like that. And
stuff
then
that we either already know exists or assume is going to exist.
Yeah, which again very much is like a wish list. Like I agree with pretty much all of this wish list that like I want to see when Eastward comes and which are these other ones? Silk Song, The Witness, I guess. Some of these other ones. But at the same time, like, no. I don't know. And then the last bit, Legend of Zelda, Echoes of the Past, the sequel to Breath of the Wild. So that was it for the news. We're done with the news. Sorry, I think it cut out for a second there, but we're back. And now we're going to get into questions or comments from our videos. I put mine first because it just has to do with the Nintendo Direct.
How dare you?
So obviously fits in with what we were just talking about. And I mean, the big point of this video is that metal is fun. That's pretty much it.
That's it. That's the video. Comments.
I mean, I guess we'll get into what you and I specifically think as we're talking about these comments and stuff. But here we go. Gazintra Fox said, the reason I prefer directs to having random Twitter announcements is that they present an opportunity for me to learn about stuff that might be of interest to me, but would probably have completely flown by me otherwise. Same reason I prefer having 5 to 10 press conferences and digital presentations crammed into a weekend a la E3 than if those same announcements are spread out into eternity. I'm less likely to notice games not directly in my wheelhouse or from companies I don't pay particular attention to if they're spread out rather than concentrated. But they don't have to be general directs for that. If Nintendo switches to exclusively mini direct minis because they don't require getting any key personnel into a recording studio, but just hiring someone to host them, that doesn't really lower their impact for me. Though I definitely agree that it's not the end of the world if they never come back. I don't think I've ever been disappointed by a direct, honestly. Found the pacing to be weird, definitely. Disappointed by the direct overall, not sure that's happened. They usually have the variety of stuff on offer that I'm looking for in them, even if nothing announced specifically appeals to me. That's why we like it, Gazintra Fox.
It's true. It's true. I agree with this. I agree with this pretty much entirely, but I just don't. I think that because most people, and this is why I'm more on the side of like, yeah, just burn it all down. Directs ultimately are like in the Venn diagram of like announcing it just by itself in its own dedicated little thing or in a direct. And that Venn diagram with that in a regular direct sort of situation, there's only negative things that separate the two. Directs are the only thing that has the potential to disappoint you by their very nature. It's loot boxes versus buying straight up DLC. You can't go into as somebody that's not a Monster Hunter fan. I'm not going to come out of a Monster Hunter direct and be like, they didn't announce anything for me, you know? Like at that point, you're just straight up stupid. But in a direct, that reaction is entertained much more than it would be elsewhere. Like people being like, this was the world, you know, YouTubers, and a lot of them, some of which we know, are guilty of this, where it's like, I don't like that direct, and that's their video, and they're like, they're angry in the thumbnail, direct bad. You know, it's like, what good does that do for Nintendo when they could literally just say, hey, this thing's coming out. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Nobody's going to reply to a trailer or a direct of Paper Mario. I don't like Paper Mario. Announce something else, you know? Like, that'd be stupid. Yeah. But on a direct, like that just gives them a platform to be disappointed.
I guess the question to
like,
me,
it feels like Christmas and all that good stuff, but I don't think that is financial, and like it doesn't help a Nintendo. It just helps us.
Right. So I guess the question for me is like, how much more like qualitatively beneficial have they seen it be or not be on either side? Because like, that's something we just don't fully know. You know, I think the best we can do is just see the trailer numbers, you know, and that's like not super,
I think
whatever
that's
the
really
word
the
is.
only way. I think really the only way, like that's as quantifiable as it gets.
I mean, that as quantifiable as it gets
that's
to
how
our side, but like,
no, even theirs, because like when you measure impressions, that's what you look at. You look at viewership. You look at.
I mean, the other thing to take into account though is like people streaming on like Twitch or something like that. Like that's something that just a YouTube video.
But this is Nintendo. They don't want that anyway. You know.
But like no, I mean like impressions that are broader than just.
Okay, I see what you're. So like, but even then, it happens still. Like the whole like Etika reacting to a Smash announcement sort of situation. That still happens when they do a Paper Mario trailer. People still stream their reaction to the thing.
Yeah, but
if anything, I would say it happens more.
I don't know. I mean, I would definitely, because people will like,
because people will make individual ones for individual announcements versus making one Nintendo Direct reaction stream or whatever.
So true, but I still feel like there's more unaccounted for, quote unquote, views that like happen for the directs than would happen for just individual trailers being dropped, or which maybe that's not the case. But all that say, like, I think it's hard for us to fully quantify the things for them on either side. I think the point that I mostly came to during the video thing was still that like their first party games, I think do like Paper Mario benefited from the Twitter drop more than a direct, unequivocally, like just for sure, because that way it wasn't buried by anything. It came out by itself and it just benefited more, like because it was the only news that was going around. So like that was very good for that. I think still it's possible that the difference though between like partner showcases are, I didn't look at the numbers actually for partner showcases and stuff, but like I think having first party games in a partner showcase brings that whole platform up by a significant margin,
but I don't
rather
think that's
than just
true, like in practice, because like people obviously see these things, right? It's like the whole thing of like, I know who Black Panther is because he showed up in Fantastic Four that one time, you know. But if anything, like what I was talking about before, it's a negative thing. Like if the Nintendo thing doesn't show up, they're mad about that. They're not then like, oh, well, this other cool game was there. The other cool game is the thing that they're mad exists and is in the way of the Nintendo thing that brought them there in the first place. There's going to be a select few people like us that discover games that are like, oh yeah, that was neat. But I don't think that that's enough, because we would do that anyway. even
Right,
if
yeah.
they just dropped the trailer, we would still be like, oh, this looks dope. I'm going to play this game. It's still getting posted to the same social channels. And if anything, it cuts the fat because you see all the same thumbnails that you see. Because I would argue that most people that this idea would in theory help, where it's like, oh, it showed me a game that I wouldn't have paid attention to anyway. They don't learn that through watching the direct. They learn that by seeing the trailer when they're scrolling through all the Nintendo's YouTube channel after the direct, or the YouTube videos that people like us make. And we're like, this game was dope and this game was dope. And like, I know most
Right.
casual gamers I know do not like watching directs, and they message me, give me the Cliff Notes, what came out, what's in the thing, you know. All the people that get hype about, and I'm one of those people that likes watching directs. I get hype about directs. I get that. But it's more of a beneficial thing for the ritual of it all than it is for them, you know. And that's all I'm saying. I think that they're cool and they all this stuff. I just think that the argument that they're like this like super powerful
right, yeah,
like marketing tool for them is flawed, because I think it has more negative aspects than it does good for them.
I think it definitely has the negative aspect as far as the community and stuff goes, which like that's the one thing I'm just not sure how much that matters, how much Nintendo like super cares about that or not, like, because it seems like there's sometimes where we want it to matter that it doesn't matter to them. So then the times that, you know what I'm trying to say, like I truly don't know.
I think that, and like the Smash Brothers thing, right? Everybody being mad about Smash Brothers, like free melee and all that crap. They don't care about that.
Right.
But I think that when the point of the thing that they're doing is to get you excited and to like engender excitement and, you know, goodwill and all that stuff, and it does the opposite of that, it's like, why bother?
Yeah,
that's what it is. And it's sort of the same thing with the Smash Bros. I think that even this is consistent with the way that they handle themselves in those situations, where they're like, well, you don't like the way we do this, we're just not going to do it. You don't like the way that we engage with the Smash community, we're going to stop running the tournaments that we do, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think like where I land still, I think, is that most likely we'll see a marriage of the two. And at some point it'll probably trend back in one direction or the other. Like either things will go more to like first party games are pretty much always dropped on their own. And I think no matter what, we still are going to have partner showcases because like,
I think that there's going to be stuff like that. I think that I don't think Nintendo Directs are going to die. I just don't think that they're going to be what they are now, where people set their watch to it, where it's like, it's Tuesday, there hasn't been one in 322 days or whatever, you know. That is the harmful part. when it's just this thing that's like, it's just this random treat that it might happen, it might not, you know.
I mean, it's kind of like the Dante thing where it's like, to a large extent, like the only reason I wouldn't want there to be directs is because I don't want the bad guys to win. But like, I don't want, you know, like people that are, I mean, and I feel this way about a lot of things, but like people that are being turds about stuff, I don't want them to get away with it. So it's just topical. But so similarly with this, like that's the only reason. But at the same time, like, you know, I don't know, Nintendo's going to Nintendo and do whatever they're going to do.
It's like I said, I get it. I'm on everybody's side with it'd be dope if they keep up directs. And I want to direct every month. That'd be awesome. But also, I do see the end of it. And we even get this directly, where it's like, it's not even just a thing of like, man, I'm angry because my favorite company's getting hate. You know, it's not that. It's like we get the blowback from those negative reactions too. Because if we have the gall to make a video being like, that direct was great, we're going to have people in the comment like, that direct sucked. I hated that because they didn't show the red, green, and blue pixels that I like. You know, like,
yeah. I'm going to move on to the next comment. YPCS said, I bought my Switch and got back into gaming at the end of 2019, so haven't actually gotten a full direct as a Switch owner, so looking forward to one. I enjoyed the mini and indie direct, so I hope the format continues.
Nice.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point for sure.
It's a good case study because you bought a Switch, never saw a direct.
So like, but especially this year, after so many people, you know, have bought a Switch this past year, I wonder how much uptick there is in if they have another direct in viewership or not, because like, you know, again, like we're more and more of the people that are coming in, obviously probably not you, IPCS, because you're listening to podcasts about Nintendo stuff and watching videos. So probably not a casual fan, but like there's tons of casual fans that came in this year that Ashley only cares about watching directs because they're fun to watch with me. And she wouldn't watch one by herself.
Right.
It's just, you know,
she watches them because you watch them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a fun activity to have together. Like we enjoy that. But so that would be interesting to kind of see that. I tried to find some on the like opposing end, but I couldn't find. Most people seem to generally agree. But Matthias said,
checks out.
Yeah, I don't think directs as we know them are coming back. Nintendo used Corona to free.
Is this Matthias
or Matthias, or I don't know.
Let us know.
We'll find out. Nintendo used Corona to flee from their duty of delivering directs, sadly.
Oh my Lord. This is the thing that they need to avoid. It's their duty now to deliver a compilation of commercials to like that's the thing that's super weird to me. I applaud Nintendo for that. Like, they're marketing geniuses to make people like salivate for them to advertise to them in mass. Like that's crazy, you know? Like I get it because again, I like the directs, but like just like if you explain that to somebody that's not like a fan of gaming, you'd be like, yo, I can't wait for this like compilation of commercials.
I mean, the closest I can think of it is like watching the trailers before movies, you know, like most people are down with that, but yeah, like otherwise it's like,
but that's not like why you're going to the movie, you know?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, it's the way it is.
Imagine people going to the movie theater to watch the trailers and then leaving after the trailers. That's
also,
what directs
it's a little bit sad that we're in the age that movie theaters pretty much aren't a thing anymore for at least a while. Right. But also, like at this point, I don't remember the last time I've been to a movie theater and straight up like found out about a movie that I was super pumped about for the first time ever from the trailer.
No, that doesn't happen to me anymore.
Because they're always on YouTube or like at least
I see a Deadline article on my timeline despite following nobody on movie Twitter, you know, like that sort of thing. Like finding out about things is not hard anymore. So it's like
true. But yeah, as far as using Corona to flee from their duty of delivering directs, no, I definitely don't think that, but at the same time, maybe they use it as an opportunity to pivot, you know. We'll see. So last comment, this is from Seven. Hello, Seven. Said, I think directs have their purpose to get information out, but usually the same people who would watch those directs and find that information useful would also just go find it for themselves without the direct or get the same result from a standalone trailer or tweet or Instagram post that includes a link to where they can learn more if they want. Also, I personally prefer more generalized directs rather than having a long showcase for an individual game, especially if it's a game I'm already interested in and have already made up my mind about, because often the single title directs go in too much detail and ruin the surprise. For example, I avoided the Monster Hunter Rise event today because I knew I wanted the game the second I learned it exists. I already know how it works and don't want the surprise of seeing all the new monsters for the first time ruined for me. These 2 points probably seem to contradict each other, but you could also rework the generalized direct into a series of individual posts, and that'd still work for me since I can just scroll past the spoilers and click on the announcements I do want to learn more about.
Like, you know, it's a good analog to this. Disney's Investor Day. They had a Nintendo Direct and they did it all in tweets and everybody got hype by title screens. You know, like they could do that exact same thing.
That's true.
And I mean, they do it.
Right. I think, in general, I think engagement wise, I think especially the first party stuff is just we're gonna find out about it regardless. Like sometimes they'll step on their own feet, you know, but like nevertheless, we'll find out about it. But I fully agree with like
people that this hurts are the people that, like I said, I already said it. The people that this hurts are the people that are the games and the developers and stuff like that everybody gets mad at when they're announced anyway. So it's like
there's a fine line for sure where like, you know, it's hard being in Nintendo's shoes as far as like the first partner direct, technically there wasn't anything bad in that partner direct, but because of expectations, like if we'd never seen a partner direct or any kind of directs before, and they were like, hey, here's a trailer for Cadence of Hyrule DLC and Shin Megami Tensei 5 and this other thing, and we put it all in one thing for you, thought that would be fun, then people would be like, dude, that's awesome, you know.
Yeah,
but
like watch the first Nintendo Direct. Watch the
Yeah.
first ever Nintendo Direct. If that came out tomorrow, people would be so mad.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's, you know, it's the context of stuff. And at this point, it might be beyond repair in large parts. And I really am curious if 2020 at this point made people's hopes. I think it made some people's hopes a lot higher, or expectations a lot higher for when it finally does come back, quote unquote. And a lot of people's expectations lower, like we're just never going to get anything again. Yeah, so anything's
both
good.
Are bad. Both are bad. Both expectations are bad for them specifically.
Right. Yeah.
So,
but yeah, all that said, direct on Monday. Get ready for it. So there it is. AJ, you made a video as well. Would you care to shed some light on it?
I made a video about Pokemon, dude.
Yeah.
I made a Pokemon video. That's all you need to know. No, I had a Pokemon video about remastered collection for Pokemon because there was like, that was part of the rumors of, it's like the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. That means that we're going to get a remastered collection because our 3D All-Stars, that did really well. And there's a lot of Pokemon games. They can get ported. You know, that'd be great. Ultimately, it's probably not going to happen. I mean, it would be cool, and like there is that incentive there because it's like, yeah, 3D All Stars did really well, blah blah blah. But they could also be like, here's Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, all separate, all $10+, and people would buy it, you know. Yep. So it's like,
it's true. More likely, I think, to like maybe we get Game Boy games and they just plop those on the Game Boy game, yeah, like just, you know, whatever,
or just straight. I don't even think that would happen. Like the virtual, like I mean not virtual, like the Nintendo Switch Online, game library or whatever. I would be shocked if they did that.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I can't imagine a Game Boy Online without Pokemon games in it. I mean, you mean just because they'd rather just sell them wholesale?
Yeah, and also because like just Pokemon doesn't usually play ball in those scenarios. Like think of like the Yoshi Woolly World situation where it's like the Pikachu amiibo, it just gives Yoshi a yellow color and an amiibo shirt. You know, it's like Pokemon's like, nah, we don't think we're going to take part in that because like at the end of the day, they don't need to. They could just the thing. They could do their own freaking Game Boy Classic, and it just has Pokemon games on it, and it's $100. Like they could, they could do that, and it would sell. So it's like it would shock me for them to be like, yeah, man, we'll throw all our Pokemon games on the Game Boy Classic. Yeah. Like I think Nintendo would have to like throw some money at them for them to like actually like.
Which I mean, I assume they do for other third parties.
No, but I mean, they gotta throw
significant money.
Yeah.
I mean, because they know that they're missing out at that point on if they did put it for even like $5 each on the standard eShop, they know they're missing out on millions of dollars.
It's like Netflix buying comedy specials. It's like, all right, we know that you're not going to be able to tour for the next year because of the agreement that we have, so we'll pay you what we project you to make plus a little more, you know. I think that's what they would have to do for Pokemon coming and be like, all right, cool, we're down, dude. We project that we're going to make $500 million from this, so our price is $750 million. You know, like I could 100% see them doing that. I could even see them do like Game Pass sort of situation where it's like, we have this agreement and you have these games for a year, and if we don't renew this agreement, we're yeeting the games off of the collection, and if you do, then we'll renew it, and then it'll be on there for another year.
Yep. Well, moving into the comments, Jeremy Matthews said, being someone who's played Pokemon since Red, Blue, and Yellow, I think the Tables Master Collection should have the following games: Yellow, Crystal, Emerald, Platinum, Black 2, White 2, XY, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I wouldn't add a Gen 8. I wouldn't add a Gen 8 game to it because it's still fresh and some people may not have played it. I chose all the thirds, Yellow, Crystal, Emerald, Platinum, because they made those that came before them in the same generation irrelevant in my mind. But seeing that the later gens didn't really release a third, that's where I think or that's where there should be 2 versions of the Master Collection to be released. I wouldn't add Fire Red, Leaf Green, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, or as seeing as they are just remakes in themselves.
I think that's exactly why. Like, if anything, like if they were to do something like this, I could see them just straight up release the remakes, like on the eShop, not bundled together, but just straight up release the eShop. Release the remakes on the eShop a la carte. You want to buy Fire Red, Leaf Green? Each one of those is $15. Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Each one of those is $25. You know, like so on and so forth. But I can't see them doing this dream scenario of like 20 years of Pokemon all on one cart. I don't know about that. I don't know if they would do that.
I mean, so it's interesting, the 3DS with you know, Pokemon that was the first time that like the original Pokemon Red and Blue
game.
That it was just straight up ported to something else, and now we don't have the virtual console. So like they've got to kind of decide what they're essentially precedent. Like they're a company that does a lot of things with precedent, like whereas Sakurai doesn't, you know, or whatever. Pokemon Company seems to be pretty into that. So
well, they are and they're not at the same time.
I mean,
they're a company that like they kind of rely on precedent and hindsight, if that makes sense.
Right.
Where it's like here we want to do this thing, and the way that we're justifying this thing is precedent. We're going to say like we're making a remake to Gold and Silver because we made one with Leaf Green, Leaf Green and Fire Red, you know, like that whole situation, right? And same thing with Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. But at any point, I can see them being like, "Nah, we're good." You know, like that's like the line that Pokemon Company took, because like they don't even do it on like this set schedule. Because like I think with Fire Red and Leaf Green, it was like the way that they marketed was like, oh, it's the 10th year anniversary of Pokemon or whatever. Here's Fire Red, Leaf Green. And then Heart Gold, Soul Silver just came out when it came out.
Right.
You know? Same thing with Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. Because like for such a long time, once they set that precedent and they did Heart Gold, Soul Silver, there people started speculating that we're going to get Omega, we're going to get Gen
in this cadence or whatever.
Because it's been this many years. It's the same thing with Direct. Same situation.
Right. Exactly.
It's been this long, so we 1000% are getting this thing. There's plushies in the background, dude.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just curious when they make their first move. I mean, their first move honestly was Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, in terms of like they're like, now we're just switching it up again. But I'm curious what their first move is going to be, as far as like, you know, when we see Blue and Red the next time, what's the context going to be, and like what does that mean for stuff going forward? Because at some point they'll want all these games to be available to everybody, but like they also kind of seem to not care that much if they are. So you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been a new way to play Ruby and Sapphire outside of the remakes in a long time, because there's not ported anyway.
I mean, the remakes just basically came out.
Yeah, right. That's Seven said, AJ, I like your idea of exploring different professions in the Pokemon world. What if in a future game your job as the protagonist wasn't to be the very best, like no one ever was, and or save the world at age 10? What if when you get your first Pokemon, you can choose to do the gym challenge again, but you don't have to? What if I decide Dawn and Serena are my role models and I want to be a performer like them? Heck, why should you be limited to being 10 years old? Again, if you want to be 10, whatever, cool, you could totally do that. But maybe you could choose to start your journey as an already experienced gym leader who, now that you're a little older, decides that actually what they really want to be is a Pokemon connoisseur or an inventor. Or on the other hand, I think maybe I'm just tired of spending 25 years as Ash's stand-in and instead want to be one of the supporting cast, or even who the protagonist of the game became when they went to the anime. On the other hand, I've always enjoyed the world and side activities of the Pokemon games more than the catching or battling. Yeah, I did it because that's how you progress, and I even did really well in the competitive scene, but I eventually dropped out partly to take care of my dad, but also because that wasn't really my main passion. I want to do contests, build a secret base, or design a gym interior to be a Pokemon Center nurse. I want to go to I want to go with my Pokemon to their jobs and help them out instead of just waving them off and seeing numbers happen a few hours later. I want to feel like I live in that world and what I do and decide to become actually matters instead of just being pulled along like a puppet on a string, acting out some fairy tale over and over again. I want to be surprised and actually wonder if I'd done something wrong and if everything's going to be okay instead of just being told that the world is in danger and suffer through the false suspense, even though I already know I'm the amazing main character, so nothing bad is ever allowed to permanently happen to me. And it's not just because I'm an adult. I truly believe it'd be a great lesson to kids that everything isn't always happy and easy, and that sometimes you're going to struggle or don't know all the answers, and that's okay too.
Yeah, I think kids are. I agree with all this,
Very well
and
said.
this is all a lot of stuff that like I said in the video, we plan to make a lot of Pokemon videos this year.
Yeah.
And like this is going to be a video where it's going to be just one video focus, or we might even do multiple videos focused on this aspect of like this is how we want characters to work in this game, like how you decide what your character is, and like customizations in that way and stuff like. Because I think that like it would be I think stuff like this, like how old are you, and like that type of question should be something that you can, you know, decide for yourself. But I also think a lot of it would be cool to just random, like that's just what happens, you know, like what region you're in. I think is a good thing to determine based on like the personality test and stuff like that, because like you don't actually, especially if you're a kid, maybe if you're older, you get to like decide I want to be from this region. But if you're a kid and you just answer certain things on this, you know, personality quiz, you're in this region, and that's how it is, because that's where you were born, you know, and you're in this town. You're not living in Pallet, because like why Pallet? Why does it have to be Pallet? There's kids in the Pokemon world that are born in freaking
Viridian,
you know, like,
for sure.
And that's where they started, and they got whatever Pokemon they got, you know. It doesn't always have to be like you said, be Ash's stand-in. So yeah, I think that that's a question that we're going to like dive into in future videos that I didn't really want to like, I didn't want to make the whole video about this, because the video could have been about this and still just scratch the surface sort of thing. I wanted to more so tee it off, like I said in the video, where it's like, this is just a thing that we want to talk about this more in depth. And it's not even like, obviously I've been talking about this for the past however many years, I don't even know at this point. Of like, yo, it would be dope if Pokemon was like this. We're going to talk about this a lot in the future, but this year specifically, we're going to like make an effort to like present, this is what we want Pokemon to be in the future, and standalone videos. So look forward.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I agree. We've talked about it before together, but yeah, I mean, just doing lots of variety of things and it not being just like a one note. I don't know. The world is just the Pokemon world and just the world in general is like supposed to be a very diverse and varied experience kind of a place. So like it doesn't make sense to be like American Dream, everybody, that's the one, you know, like the same exact thing. Like that's very dumb. Yeah, agreed. Good comment, Seven. JBell17 said a Gen 6 and or 7 collection would be amazing just to have them in Switch and directly connected to home. They can already look better and run smoother, especially all the things that slowed on the 3DS, like hordes and double/multi battles. On a side note, if we assume that the Pokemon Company / Game Freak continues the pattern of new game, then remakes, do you think they'll stop after like Gen 20? It's taken 25 years for 8 gens, because by then it'll be remakes, but they'll be new to somebody.
I don't know. And that's another reason why I think it's going to be a thing of like, they're going to do them until they don't.
Yeah, they'll pivot.
Yeah, like obviously, if these remakes sell 40 million units, they're gonna remake another generation, you know. But it's gonna, if it comes to a point where it's like, these remakes didn't do so hot relative to the game that we released just now or the last remake or whatever, like it's half the set. They're gonna be like, I don't know about remakes, you know. And then maybe they stop altogether. Maybe they stop for a little bit and then they revisit them, or maybe they start over again, where it's like they get to Gen 8 and the Gen 8 remix are where everything tapers off. Then they're like, okay, we'll remake Gen 1 again in our freaking like chipping your head video game engine, you know, like. So I do. I just wonder with video games in general, like I don't think companies think that far ahead too. Yeah,
where
for
like,
sure. Yeah,
you know, obviously Zelda. They rework what they're doing like all the time in terms of story and all that. They're like, I don't know, I guess there's a canon, but like barely. So
Yeah, and see, that's usually, especially like in like Zelda's a good example of this, where it's like when they do that and they think about what the game is,
Mm-hmm.
in the context of what the game has been in recent memory, they kind of lose their way. It's sort of like
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I've talked about in the past, where it's like it's bad to completely let your fans determine the future of your thing,
Mm-hmm.
because then you end up like Dragon Ball, and it's like, but what if this one's Frieza? But
Yeah.
he's green and he's made up of the DNA of all the other people. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but what if this one is just literally the last green guy that we made, but he's pink and he turns people into candy? You know, like it's that sort of
Yeah.
like you lose all identity for everything and nothing makes sense and nothing feels intentional.
Yeah.
So I think that for them to like continue to be successful, they need to like not think that far ahead. You know, obviously they need a plan, but they can't be
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, 10 years from now, that's when we're going to do the Gen 6 remakes, you know, like
Mm-hmm. I do wonder too, like, so I've been playing Pokemon Go more recently, some, and I'm curious with this kind of thing, like they, started in 2016. At this point, we're up to Gen 6, I think, in Pokemon Go. And at some point, they'll be straight up just caught up. And so
mm-hmm.
things like that are more like live services or whatever. And like, I guess we'll talk about it more with the Pokemon game project of this year. But like what that means for those, like once Gen 8 is in here, probably then Gen 9 will be around the corner or something like that in real life. And then Gen 9 gets in there and then they're just like
Yeah, and then
coming
what?
out at the same time, I guess. And like, does that make it harder? Because then they don't have that,
They don't
that
have an
carrot on
excuse
the
to
stick
push.
for
Yeah, like a
Pokemon Go
new
players for
thing.
3 years or
Smash
whatever.
Bros. DLC came out. Turn the game back on.
Right, exactly. Yeah. They'll have to wait until like the real cadence is, instead of being like, ooh, people are kind of dipping off. Go ahead and crank out the new thing. So
Which I mean, I think that just Pokemon in and of itself sort of does that
yeah.
naturally, where it's like
And even
now
yeah.
their carrot on the stick a lot of the time is like, it's a Charizard event. Remember how hard
Uh-huh.
Charizard used to be to catch? Now you can find him everywhere, like that sort of thing.
Honestly, and with Pokemon Go, I think even Gen 6 is technically in here, but there's like 20 Gen 6 Pokemon. And probably not even all the other gens have their
Yeah,
full
exactly.
thing.
I don't
So
even
they'll
think
be
they
like,
have, yeah, exactly.
like, all right,
They'll drip
Jirachi's
feed
showing up now for the first time, even though it's
Right.
from like forever ago or something,
Yep.
So like Jirachi's Gen 3, right?
Yes. Yep. Gen 3.
Cool. That's when I started to forget. I mean, I played Gen 3 and Gen 4, but after the fact. So, all right, last comment. This is from Padmock, who says, honestly, when it comes to this ultimate dream game, there should be some major changes to the combat system, and I'm really curious about your suggestions. After playing Sword Shield for several hours, I was so exhausted by the fights that I avoided them at all costs, and that was only one region. I don't know if anyone would have the strength for more. LOL.
You came to the right place. Because that is the core of it for me, honestly. Like that is always the main thing that I'm talking about. Because like I'm at the point where I play, and I've pretty much always been, ever since I was a kid, I've always been to this point where it's like I'm playing Pokemon because I like the world and I like the lore and I like the characters in it. I actively dislike the gameplay, it's like, and I engage with it and I understand it and I play these games and I spend time on them and stuff like that because I like the world and I like the characters and I want to engage with them. But it's in spite of all that other stuff. So I think that there's a way to like change that and make me want to play Pokemon, apart from like to want to engage with all that stuff rather than it being like I gotta eat my vegetables so I can get to the dessert that I actually want. Make the dessert, make the vegetables more appealing at the very least by making the gameplay more interesting for everybody. Because I think that at the end of the day, even casual fans, possibly even especially casual fans, that even are like RPG fans and stuff like that, don't care about the gameplay of Pokemon. It's just a means.
I think it's one of those things that's like,
it's like literally just tournament players that I think care about the combat system and don't want it to change because they don't want to have to learn a new thing. What if I'm not good at a combat system that's not pressing buttons on a menu?
Right. I mean, and with because I feel like a lot of people will just go the grind and super effective route to where like, the benefit of that is that you're still probably going to get to see new Pokemon as you're doing it. And like, so you're engaging with a more engaging part, which is the like world and lore and stuff like that. And also leveling up your Pokemon. So the next gym leader is a pushover, you know? But yeah, I generally
But there's,
agree.
I mean, well, we'll get to it. But there's ways to accomplish that without the
Yeah.
game.
Oh, no, I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying like, it's one of those things like people probably don't, I don't know, maybe don't realize how much they kind of don't care about it because you're exploiting the system anyway.
It's the situation that we were talking about with Monster Hunter, where it's like, but if they take away the loading, the game will be different.
Right.
And it's because they're not game designers. They don't think about games in the way that even we do, where it's like, but what if this? They just play what they have in front of them. And that in their mind is all that it can ever be. It's how can I shiny hunt if the Pokemon aren't hidden from me before I catch them? That's impossible, dude. How?
And then I did more shiny hunting in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee than ever before.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not like it became any, and I hate using this word for shinies, but anything that's chance based, but it didn't become any easier. It just became more bearable because when you found a shiny, it's like, oh, that thing, like, great. It still took me 300 hours to find this one shiny, but I see it before I run into it, so I'm way more hype than even if like I'm barely paying attention and I run on the thing. It's like, oh shoot, it's on my screen. That's less exciting than having to physically run toward the thing, you know?
Agreed. So, Pokemon collections. Yeah, I'm with you in terms of like, I don't expect to see any, but like, I do hope that even, in a world where sure, red, blue, yellow, whatever, don't come to Game Boy collection on NSO, I do hope that still some of the spin-off games do, like, cause I think they definitely,
I could see that. I could see them do spin-offs. I don't think they care as much about the spin-offs.
Yeah.
But even then I would be kind of surprised, but I could see it.
Yeah. I feel you. All right, well, that is it from those, and now we're on to the last segment, which is Q&A. We've got lots of questions. Yeah. And here we go. First questions. These are from YouTube community. I also did a poll and asked people there, do you even know we have a podcast? And 25% of people, or some amount of people said, yep, I know, and I love it. And some people said, you have a podcast? And then some people said, I know about it, but I don't really care, in which case you're not listening here, but that's fine. So, but you're not listening to me say it's fine, so you'll never know. And then a bunch of people picked the goof option at the end, which was just a goof option. So if you're here because of that poll, cool. Let me know in the comments, because I'm very curious if that actually benefited anything. But here we go. YouTube community. Go Fish Goldfish said, got any games that you like to play when you want to cheer yourself up other than Animal Crossing? Looking for a good, lighthearted time. Thanks as always.
My suggestion will not help you.
I agree.
Because it's Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
And even me, like, I play Smash Brothers, and like, I'm always talking about how, especially online, how stupid it is. But, like, that's dumb. That should have worked. Or that's dumb. I got lagged out. Or that's dumb. This man's camping me. But the whole of the experience, it just lets me like veg out and not think.
Yeah. I think honestly, that's a big part of it, is like getting to just feel comfortable somewhere. So like, it doesn't even necessarily have to do with what the game mechanics are, although I think there's some that are more conducive to that. So like things that are just slower paced in general, like there's a game called Minute that I haven't played, but I know about, that probably wouldn't do this, where every time you play, you've got a minute, or so like you have a minute to go do a bunch of stuff, and then you die, and then the things you did in that last minute gets to stick around, but then you have to start again from the same point, and then eventually you have to do this whole things.
But even then, like, I think that it really just depends on how you approach things, right? Because like Minute to me sounds like it could be something that's like peaceful in a different way, where it's like it's like
if each
like
life doesn't have consequence, then that's fine.
It's like watching a scary movie. It's like I get the adrenaline rush of being in danger without actually being in danger, I get to feel like I'm doing something and being engaged without feeling overwhelmed, and like that affects my life in a real like impactful way, you know?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Not saying that that's why I like whatever game I like, but I can see that being somebody's reason for liking something like that.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think, and it's
It
hard
really
because
just
cheer
depends on
yourself
type
up
person.
also doesn't necessarily mean just like chill out or whatever. But for me, I think it'll typically be a kind of game where like something like Breath of the Wild or Immortals Phoenix Rising or something like that, where like there's a big old world and I can go do an active thing or I can go do not an active thing and just go like wander around and just find new places, but not have to feel like there's any pressure to do anything. For me, that's, you know, that's a cheer myself up kind of activity. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I would say.
So I would say if you follow up, let us know. Other than for you, what games do you think that you know of and already play? Are those for you right now? Because that would be easier for us to like say like, okay, we have a better
Similar to
idea.
that,
Like,
and
yeah,
that, yeah.
exactly. So like we could recommend games that are similar. Because like again, something like for me Smash Brothers, where it's like I can occupy my brain with something that's not super hard for me most times, is the thing that like I can, because like I don't like I don't know how to do nothing. You know, like relaxing in the sense that I think people usually mean relax, like just, you know, chilling out watching a movie. I would lose my mind. You know, I can't be stagnant in that way. It's very rare that I'm the closest I get to just doing one thing is like this, right? Where it's like I'm just talking and doing the podcast, but every other time if I'm playing Smash Bros, I'm not even just playing Smash Brothers. I'm listening to podcasts. I might be listening to music and also a podcast, you know, and scrolling through Twitter and scripting a video in between matches. You know, it's just like if I'm just sitting there and doing nothing or very little would bore me, and that's a bigger problem. Like, well, other people, sometimes you just gotta like be with yourself and just sit there and do nothing.
That's true.
For me, it sounds like hell. For other people, that's bliss.
Brandon Hart said, thoughts on Animal Crossing getting a spin-off game in the near-ish future. Things didn't exactly go well last time, but Animal Crossing New Horizons is selling really well as of late. I'm thinking last time means
I was about to say, well, last time it did pretty good with Happy Home Designer.
Oh, I was thinking last time was
you were thinking Amiibo Festival.
Amiibo Festival, yeah.
And even Pocket Camp, which I think is actually actual the last time.
Yeah,
it's
that's
fine,
true.
You know,
yeah. I think it did poorly right at the beginning when people were looking for it to be the Animal Crossing experience. But then as soon as that wasn't the case, then I think like people fell into it, and people that enjoyed its loop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you, but I don't think that. That really it doesn't really track like with mobile games, like especially with their strategy with mobile games, like it doing poorly in the beginning is just like phase one, you know.
Like, for sure.
It's very rare for them to expect a Pokemon Go like trajectory. It's like, okay, we get people in the door and then we give them content to like make them want this as a daily part of their routine, and then we add more and more to be able to monetize that. It's not something that they're looking necessarily for volume, they're just looking for whales.
And also like not looking for people to migrate over to it fully, where like you know, like I'm sure there are people that play Fire Emblem Heroes that don't play Fire. I mean, less likely with that one, but like Pokemon Go, for sure there's people that play Pokemon Go that don't care about Pokemon mainline games at all. There's people that play Mario Kart Tour that don't play Mario Kart on Switch, you know, like that kind of stuff. So yeah, but the actual question, thoughts on it getting a spin-off game in the nearish future? I wouldn't think nearish future just because Animal Crossing is
I think they're focused on Animal Crossing.
Yeah, for at least 2 years, I would think. But then maybe in 2022, I could see a spin-off game happening if it's kind of like a smaller one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or maybe once they start working on the next big Animal Crossing thing, and then it like, you know, certain ideas fall off and they're like, this would be cool. And they're like, not for this. And then they make a spin-off based around that, or they're developing certain features and they're like, this would make a good full game. And kind of like how features from Happy Home Designer,
Captain Toad coming out of,
exactly.
Honestly, I might have said this before, but I expect like straight up DLC for Animal Crossing. I don't know,
Like paid
probably
DLC. I mean,
like paid DLC.
they've
Yeah.
done something similar in the past. I don't know if it was paid, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't paid when they did this straight up like welcome to camp or whatever it was for New Leaf.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can
Welcome.
see something like that.
But yeah, I feel like, I don't know what it is, but it's something, leaving your island, something. And I don't know what that is, but like going somewhere else and build, like starting from scratch in another location.
Or they do the opposite of that, where they're like, all right, dude, we're going to yeet you into a city that's established.
Yep. Right.
Well, I can see them also do that.
Yep. I can see that too. So yeah, here we go. Kukul said best hosts for any podcast ever. Thanks. That's nice. We like to do it, and
It's true.
y'all make it worth it.
Can confirm.
Also, talking to AJ is fun. So even if you people weren't here,
talking to AJ is okay, but talking to Parker,
so the questions are: what are the top 5 games you've played most on Switch, from most played to least played?
Oh, so least like okay.
So
well, we talked about that on the I don't know if that's hold on.
Oh, that was just for last year, but okay. I'm pretty sure this could be a little bit off, but pretty sure it's
100% going to be off for me, but because I got the new Switch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So my Switch isn't going to say exactly, but pretty sure it's Breath of the Wild, 100%. Probably Animal Crossing next, and then Divinity Original Sin. And then this is where I'm not 100% sure, but possibly Octopath Traveler, and then Xenoblade Chronicles Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Hold on, wait,
but there might be something else in one of those two spots.
Should work. Here we go.
Hey, look at that.
We did it.
Look
This
at
is
that.
This is by playtime, and this is like not accurate.
Right.
There's like a lot of like this. I have more. This is probably in my top 5. So I would say it's probably Smash, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, well, Splatoon, then Animal Crossing, and then Breath of the Wild. No, Breath of the Wild's over Animal Crossing. So Animal Crossing would be number 5.
Splatoon.
Zelda would probably be 3, then Splatoon, then Animal Crossing.
Yep.
So that's mine.
There it is. Yeah, I feel like I'm missing something on mine, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's roughly something like that. So yeah, Breath of the Wild, Animal Crossing, Divinity Original Sin, Octopath, Xenoblade 2. Next question, still from Kukul. How long did it take you to beat Origami King? I plan on buying it after I'm done with a few games, and I want to know what to expect time-wise. Also, how long did it take you to beat Luigi's Mansion and Pikmin?
The only one I can answer for that is Pikmin, and I didn't beat it on Switch. I beat it on Wii U. Pikmin took me like, I want to say 15, 20 hours, somewhere around there, probably 20.
Cool. Luigi's Mansion is pretty much exactly the same, like 15-ish.
Yeah.
I think it was like
75% of the way through Luigi's Mansion. See, but this is a thing, streaming, dude. Maybe I'll finish all of this.
That's true. Yeah, you just have a like finishing things stream.
Because I do want to do like, I want to rotate, like I want to have a set day for like, this is the day I play Smash, and usually I want to play it with like people that I know that are good.
Right.
So like, it'd be like me practicing and just streaming that, and then like toward the end play with people for a little bit, and then have another day where it's like right now the game that I'm going to play through on that other day, and probably most of the days right now until I find another game to take up another slot. Yeah, like Breath of the Wild, and play through that again, and then maybe Luigi's Mansion or any other like backlog in quotes game that I didn't finish that I kind of want to play.
That sounds like a good idea. Origami King, I want to say was like 25, 22, somewhere within 20 to 25 ish hours. But also with these, I think some of them kind of depend on like how thorough you are as well, you know. So some people will get through these in like 12 hours, but like Luigi's Mansion, like I liked finding all the stuff, so it was more like 18 hours or something. So there you Thank you for your questions. Thor88 said, "Where can I find the podcast?" And I answered this in the thing.
I was about to say.
But
So
I'm
this
curious.
is a very ineffective way to answer that.
Thor88, did you find the podcast? If so, hello, welcome, and I'm glad you made it. That is all. Seven said,
that's what you're curious about.
What podcasts? We don't know.
I don't know, man.
We'll never know.
I don't know. You gotta ask Mr. Pod.
That's right. Alvaro Chacon Hermosillo said, "Any thoughts on a new 3D Golden Sun and Donkey Kong's 40th?"
Nah, Parker's never heard of either one of these things, especially not Golden Sun. For me, on the other hand, I'm the biggest of Golden Sun fans.
So I've changed my tune a little bit on the Golden Sun, because the last time I talked about it, I was like, I feel like, and I have one specific reason that I think this, or thought this at the time, but I thought they would stay more or less
pixel art.
2D, or like maybe pixel art, but if not, then like still like more isometric kind of thing, but like better. And I don't think that anymore. At this point, I'm thinking like full on Dragon Quest 11 sort of like big world, because like it's always been an ambitious series as far as like its looks and all that stuff. But the reason I mostly thought it was because of puzzles, and like that I still don't know. I feel like they could be a little bit like, because that's such an important part to that franchise. I feel like the puzzles in 3D could end up feeling like the most kind of stilted parts of it, whereas in 2D they didn't really, because it just makes sense for things to be kind of grid lined in 2D, and like the puzzles just work better that way. So it could be that when you get to a more puzzly section, in at least like a puzzle heavy section, at least, that it would become temporarily isometric, like the camera would tilt up and like lock in place, and then you do stuff there and then leave. But I don't know. So all that said, 3D Golden Sun, I'm more convinced of it now, and I hope it happens. What about Donkey Kong's 40th? What do you think?
Yeah, make something different. Do something new, dude. Not Donkey Kong Country. Donkey Kong Country's fine. They can make another Donkey Kong Country eventually. But like, revisit 3D Donkey Kong. I want to see 100%. If they can do it right this time.
True. Yeah, we'll never talk about that.
Give that to Next Level Games, dude.
Oh, yep. Thoughts and stuff. All right, moving on. Twitter. I made a promise that I shouldn't have in Twitter, and I said we would make fun rhymes with all your names as we answer your questions. So here goes. Duncan Ketchison. He's really cool when he goes to school. I didn't rhyme his actual name.
I thought you were it would like rhyme with the names. Dude.
I know that was the plan, but I haven't thought of them yet. So here we go. Duncan Ketchison.
One man sweats and run.
All right, cool. I'll do the next one then. The next one's super easy. I've got that. That'll be great.
Oh, boo.
If Nintendo were suddenly erased from existence, what kind of content would you guys cover instead?
I
mean, I have an easy answer for this because I did before this. But music.
Not on this channel, though.
No, not on this channel. I just don't think I'd be talking on this channel, you know?
Rip, dude.
Probably.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Would you?
Yes, man. I'd talk about anime or something that's tangentially related. But if they just disappeared, and Yu-Gi-Oh's not tangentially related. Something I could like keep making, and then like they would more or less perform the same. Yeah. But if like, for whatever reason,
we're suddenly erased from existence.
Yeah.
I'm dumb.
Yeah.
I was thinking like never existed at all.
But you had to make something.
I just Yeah, and like if you were interested in something, but there were no such thing as video games, what would you do? But no. That's
because like all the stuff like that, like music and all that stuff, like that stuff I want to do anyway. But
I mean, honestly, what we probably talk about is still Nintendo and why they were suddenly erased from existence.
True. That's true. Or
because otherwise it would be
existed.
Like, what is this channel? Like, why do we? Like if it just suddenly Nintendo didn't exist, either all our videos still exist and we're like, what's all this stuff? If we like our brains were wiped of Nintendo as well, that would be confusing. Or if the content was erased from the past as well, we just wouldn't have any videos besides like 3.
See, and that's the thing. Like, it depends on how it happens. Because, like, if it's this thing and like that just means that we have this channel and we have to like repurpose it, like I said, I would do it with something that's like tangentially related or that performs well for us anyway. That's not directly Nintendo or whatever. But if it's like this channel then becomes a blank slate and like we could post whatever, and then that would be about like that would be the thing that people watch and stuff like that. Yeah, man, probably. I don't know. Like if that's what it was, if it was just like we just could post whatever. I don't know.
Fanatics Foods. Fanatics
Foods. It would probably, but like honestly, like if we could do this thing and it like we just know that our audience would watch it or whatever, and it was whatever. Why confine it to one thing at that point?
Yeah,
like,
right. That's
whatever
true.
we want to talk about that particular day.
Pat Green. Your hat.
What? You can't say what?
Pat Green is a hat machine. That's the one. We're going with that. Pretend that I didn't stutter over my words and I just thought of that straight away.
Rat
it's not
spleen.
Even that great. He is a rat spleen, of the beautifulest rat spleen I've ever seen. How's Parker's life changed for the better now that it has a pro controller has found him? I messed up the words. And good luck writing anything silly with Pat. That's impossible. We came up with it. But I didn't talk about that at all, but I plan to. I'm probably going to make a video about some stuff. But yes, playing with Pro Controller. I played with it last night because it came in the mail. It said estimated delivery date.
I saw it.
January 22nd, and it came today or yesterday.
Oh, well, Amazon does that. I knew it was coming yesterday. I knew that
nice.
2 days ago or whatever. Like,
so
they're like, I saw the thing of like, this is where we left it. Like,
you're like, that's Parker's door.
I was like, I don't know if he's like working or something, but like it's there.
Oh, they never like ring the. They always just leave it there.
That doesn't surprise me. They do the same thing for me too.
Yeah. So, I mean, luckily, I think we live in a neighborhood where it's like just medium enough that nobody would bother stealing anything from anybody because it's like, they probably don't have that great stuff anyway.
Literally,
like,
the closest that's ever happened to me is I got groceries delivered one time and I didn't realize where they put some Gatorade that I got, and they took one of the Gatorades. That's like, and that's because it was like sitting out there for like 3 days or something like that. I don't care.
The most that ever happened, we got a pickup order from our grocery store recently, and I was like, oh, I guess they didn't give you this frozen pizza that I thought they were gonna, or that you ordered. And a couple days later, I was putting something in the trunk and I was like, hey, what's this frozen pizza doing in here? And nobody stole it. I just forgot about it, and it was, not frozen anymore, so I had to throw it away because it had been several days.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, Mega Man 87 with a hand and 11.
That doesn't even rhyme.
It half rhymes. It's good enough. Does it?
Legs in hand, 8. No, you can't. I'm not going to say 8. Late 11. There we go.
That's the one. We're so good at these.
Leg in hand, latest 8-11.
8-11.
Late
How about
11.
that? 11's better. Yeah, it's not perfect rhyme, but
it's still 8. 11. It's still 8. Late 11.
Hates a lemon.
Nice.
How long will it take for Boy Zelda to beat Ganon with no pants? And why does it take him 3 hours to do puzzles?
It's not even true. The whole stream, Mega Man keeps saying this, and it's slander or it's libel. And I don't like it. Well, specifically, it was slander the first time he said it. Because it was on a Discord call after the stream. And it's not true. The stream in its entirety was 3 hours. The puzzle was maybe like a half an hour or something like that. And it was not solving the puzzle. It was executing what I already knew would work. that was taking long.
Was that the one that with the?
It was the waterfall thing where you pull out the room and do the thing. Because I was trying to do it in a very specific way.
Forever, it'll take Boy Zelda forever. Max Wright can't get his facts tonight. He said, "Can we please
you
play?"
You can't add extra syllables, dude. That's not a
Of
rhyme.
course you can't. It's I'm making a silly rhyme. It's a whole thing. It's good. That's the best one so far. The rest of them sucked. So
that's
all right.
crazy.
Max Wright facts light.
There we go.
There it is. Can we please play the Monster Hunter demo together, please? And thank you. Please, 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 please. Why did you say please? He didn't. I made that up. I added them. Yeah, we can make that happen.
Yeah, dude. I'm down.
I love that Max and I, literally, our friendship started because with an offer, more or less, with an offer to play Dark Souls together to help each other out. And we have never played a game together once. So,
is that true? I don't know if that's true.
The first time I talked to him, so like I was already following him because he was on.
Yeah, I get that. I'm saying not that. I'm saying the never played a game together thing.
Oh, never played a game.
Then again, I believe that because I've never. Well, that's not true because we play games at PAX. But like outside of PAX, never played a game.
Among Us once. That's it.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. That's true.
Oh, and I joined one Pokemon raid way long ago, briefly when you were on stream.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Yeah,
that's true. But yeah, no, me and Max have played more games together than you and Max have played together, and probably more than me and you have played together, even counting
with PAX. Yep.
That's why I'm like, that can't be true. But I forgot. It's you. You're the variable in this.
I am indeed. Yeah, Brad was like, we're gonna play. He was like, we're gonna play Monster Hunter together every night. Set your clock to it. And I was like, I don't think I've replied actually yet. And I was like, well, it's not gonna happen, but I hope that we can make it happen a couple of times. So yeah, I'm just so bad at like the times that I play games are just it fits in whatever it fits in, like I don't really know how it works or doesn't work, but usually it involves Ashley being asleep and with her head kind of in the way, her wonderful, beautiful, lovely head a little in the way. Tony Pastroni said, with Retro Studios,
all these syllables, dude.
That's right. With Retro Studios team busy working with Metro Prime 4. Also, I didn't want to say baloney because I figured that was like Tony Baloney. That's like
all the Tony ones are sad. Tony is lonely. Tony, you know me.
Yeah. I like that. Okay. With Retro Studios team being busy with Metro Prime 4, would you like to see the Platonic Games team, old Rare team, to work on a new Donkey Kong Country for Nintendo?
I want them to work on Banjo, and I want Microsoft to put it on Switch. That's what I want.
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, except for unless it's like,
if it's like freaking ukulele. Yeah.
The Impossible Layers.
And you know what?
Great,
that's the
but
whole
the original
reason.
one.
That's the whole reason why I was like, I don't know, because like when they did ukulele, I was like, this is like a worse version of the thing that they did. I mean, that's already being done, So I was like, that's going to avoid that. But then, yeah, true.
Do you think?
And the Impossible Layer, it's fine, but I wouldn't say it's better than Tropical Freeze. So I was like, it's that same thing, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, why wouldn't we already have Retro to just do that?
I mean, but it would, yeah. No, I agree. So there's all that stuff. But again, I think, like you said, I'd rather see not a Donkey Kong Country game next. I'd rather see Donkey Kong 3D or even something just different. Donkey Kong would be cool. But ideally Donkey Kong 3D. Like, give us that. Kate Michelle hates Sabelle. Yep. It said the fake Nintendo leak. And when you guys predict, so things to talk about. The fake Nintendo leak and when you guys predict / expect the next Direct to actually be. Also, good luck making that rhyme with my name. We did something.
We talked about one of those things.
We did.
I mean, we didn't really predict when the next one's out because it's like whatever happens, I guess. I mean, I predicted
in my video a little bit, but my very rough guess is the week after Super Mario 3D World.
I think it's going to be January 382nd. That's when it's going
of 2025
of 2020, because the January Direct that everybody just knew, dude. They were so sure, they were positive that it was going to be crazy that there's not a January Direct, dude.
I can't remember. Maybe it was Cam or maybe it was somebody else. I saw somebody saying like, now that we're in 2021, like I think I just have a feeling we're gonna see a direct this next week, something, just because of the track record of the January direct. And I was oh, but they're actually, I don't think it was Cam. I don't remember who it was though, but I was like,
there's no track record.
There
There's
wasn't.
none. Yeah,
last year there wasn't one. 2019, there wasn't
there's
one.
literally been in the history of directs, roughly 4, and they're not even. And directs have been a thing for a decade now at this point.
Right. I mean, within the Switch, the only January thing labeled a direct was the Direct Mini in 2018, and in 2017. They obviously
had
the
presentation for the Switch,
which very much counts as a thing that showed off games in January, but it wasn't.
Right, but it wasn't a direct.
Wasn't a direct. So,
and it's the same thing as when they do direct. That's why it's there's all these caveats, because there's going to be some sort of, especially for hardware like that. There was a direct to announce games that are coming part and parcel with the new 3DS. That sort of situation. But yeah, no, this whole thing of armchair analysts and stuff like that of being well, we know for sure that this is going to happen because blah, blah, blah. It's one thing to be this would be cool if this happened because this, and there's precedent and blah, blah, blah. But for sure, this is definitely going to happen because before in 2003. Yeah.
Yeah. Tom. What word rhymes with Tom? Mom.
Bomb.
Glom. It's a real word. Don't look it up. Hypothetically, if Nintendo, we said silly rhymes, so we can't say mom and just leave it at that. AJ.
Tom, the mom is silly. Hello, what mom do you know named Tom?
So many? You don't know.
I do.
All of them.
I know for sure. You've never met a mom named Tom.
I bet Tom's very offended. Hypothetically,
why would Tom be offended?
I don't.
I mean,
know.
I get freaking if you're never mind. But screw it, dude. If you're Tommy Laren, I guess maybe somebody calls her Tom, and eventually she'll be a mom, probably.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe a bunch of
a bad one, but she'll be a mom eventually.
I don't even know who is that? Tommy Laren?
Google her after this.
Okay. Maybe I don't want to Google her at all.
No, you want to. Okay. As far as morals go, maybe not. Your morals wouldn't align with hers. Not safe search sort of situation, but
okay, yeah,
that sort of thing,
Yeah, a conservative political commenter, blah blah blah, television host.
Look her Twitter up. Take a scroll through that.
Yep. So hypothetically, if Nintendo were to buy a Sony or Microsoft first-party IP, which would you want it to be, and what type of game would you like to see it? Would you like to see them do with it? I mean, Banjo is an easy one. That's a cop-out for sure, but
a Sly Cooper platformer.
Mm-hmm. I mean. I don't know. It's hard to say.
A Halo puzzle game.
Well, it's an upcoming IP because there hasn't been a game for it. But Everwild from Xbox looks really cool. And it's one of those things where the concept is very just neat and cool. Could very well turn out to they don't figure out what they actually want to do with the game. Whereas I feel if we saw a game that looked like that from Nintendo, then since they think about mechanics first, then they would have already thought about mechanics. So I would expect a little more promise from a game that looks like that from Nintendo. So I'm going to say that from Microsoft. Sony, I don't know. I mean, Ratchet and Clank's the easiest one. So maybe Ratchet and Clank.
Said Sly Cooper.
Yeah, Sly Cooper's good. Especially because there hasn't been a new Sly Cooper game in a while, right?
When was I think the last new Sly Cooper game came out in 2011, I think. Something like that. Sly 4.
And while you do that, John Francis Pat Green. Well, I rhymed it. It's the same thing.
2013 is when it came out.
2013. That rhymes with Pat Green. It doesn't. Challenge accepted. I'm moving on because I can't think of one for John Francis. And I mean, you can think of one if you want, but I'm going to start asking these questions and then we can come back to it.
Flan Mantis.
So good. That's so much better than all the ones that I did that you got mad at me for.
It's true. Flan's a thing.
I know flan's a thing.
But
It's
you're like making names up and stuff, dude.
Exactly.
You're like making words up. Those are
Yeah,
both
flan
words
mantis
that
is pretty
exist.
silly, so I'm down with that. Is it a mantis made of flan? Like a
yes.
sculpture?
Yes.
All right.
Mhm.
One of those good flan sculptors. Challenge accepted, says Flan Mantis. Number 1, top 5 alcoholic drinks.
I don't know. I had this one thing that was called a Jolly Rancher, and it just tastes like a Jolly Rancher, dude. It was freaking late, dude.
I don't know.
But everything else, I'm pretty mid on. Like,
yeah,
it's very much so a social thing. That's like, okay, fine, I'll drink, and like, I'm not like. My sister gets mad at me because like she'll be like, she's a drinker and she's like, let's take shots, and I'll take a shot, and I'm like, and she's thinking like, because I'm not a drinker, she thinks I'm like freaking out, and I just take a shot. I'm like,
there it was.
She's like, what? Like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I don't not drink because I can't handle it. I don't drink because I think it's gross, and that's enough for me to just be done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think I definitely don't have like a top 5 or anything like that, so I won't be able to answer that specifically.
I don't drink that much. I don't even think I like 5 alcoholic drinks. There's literally one that I've had ever that I'm like, this is good, and that's it.
I mean, I think like a lot of times, or I don't know why I started with a lot of times. One time hanging out with our friends, we got like little bottles of like a bunch of different things to be like, this is what vermouth tastes like. Vermouth is super gross, so that's fun to find out. It tasted like leather cologne or something. But maybe it wasn't vermouth that was so bad, but there were some not so good ones. But okay, my parents both quite like very peaty whiskeys. I very much do not like peaty whiskeys. But like a good like bourbon whiskey, like, yeah, that's fine.
It's
Moscow
Bob,
Mule.
Bob.
Yeah. Moscow Mules are good. I don't know. I mean, I only ever sip anything that I drink. So like, I'm just not going to take anything that's shot. So I don't care on that front, but yeah, I don't know. Those are the ones off the top of my head. There's some like stout beers that I can drink. I'm not a fan of IPAs. I will say that much. I haven't tried in a while, but not here for it.
Yeah. It's just not, I know that like for a lot of people, it's like this cultural thing where it's like most people, the first time they try alcohol, they're like, this is gross. I don't want to drink this, but they still drink it because it's like a passage, like a rite of passage sort of thing. Yeah. Where it's like, if you're adults drink alcohol, so you got to like train yourself to like it, dude. You know?
No, I mean, I remember
the worst case scenario sort of thing, or even like, I just want to like chill out, and like that's how I do. Like, I just don't have any of those needs. I don't care what people think about me in that way. I don't feel the need to escape anything or like even, need assistance in relaxing in that way. So I just don't know.
Well, and that's something for me too, that like, if I ever feel like I need to escape from something, like I'm very aware of that, and that would be a time more than any that I wouldn't drink or anything like that, because like I know that's something
that's like a bad habit too.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. Like, and it's not even something where it's like there's a bunch of alcoholics in my family. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. But
why are you saying it like that?
That's a like real thing. That's like there's a bunch of alcoholics in my family, so I need to be aware of this. That's not even the case for me, but at the same time, like I'd rather not, give opportunity for abusive tendencies.
Not to
like
start that.
It's
for you to be patient one and that lineage.
And so, I mean, and then the other thing of like, I think especially like college times or whatever, for people like starting out drinking is like go to a party and like, I really want to do such and such thing tonight and feel like I got away with it. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I was drunk or something like that. Like that is something where it's like, no, I only want to do the things that I think
that's another part of it for me, where it's like, there is that rebellious side of it of like, I got it drinking because like I'm old enough to drink.
There's no Nintendo Direct,
that sort of thing. But for me, it was like I have older siblings,
Yeah,
So,
right.
and also like in New Jersey, it's legal to drink as long as you're like at home, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
this all. So it's like it's never been this taboo thing for me.
Yeah. Same.
So it's like,
Yeah. Same here. As far as like, I mean,
yeah, and you
in
like freaking
France
grew
as
up
a
in Europe.
yeah, living in
Like,
France as a kid, like I'd had sips of my parents' wine for a while. When we moved to Virginia when I was 10, my parents were like, okay, so
we can't
you've
do
had
that
sips of
here.
wine or
Yeah.
whatever, but like you can't tell, because like we were coming to work with the church or whatever.
Mhm.
And my parents were like, you can't tell anybody that you've had wine. We're like, why not? Like we didn't do
Freaking
anything. And they're like,
10-year-old Parker, yo, I'm trying to get lit.
and they were like, because there's nothing wrong with it, but like people will get the wrong idea that just from you having sips of wine they'll be like whatever. So I just remember that, and I don't know, that was funny. But yeah, same thing, like by the time I was allowed to drink alcohol, I was like, I very much don't care about this. But at the same time, it's a very serious thing. Like just, I mean, hey, it can be a fun lighthearted thing, but like if you anybody out there, if you need help and alcoholism and all that stuff, find help. Not us. We're not good at that, probably. From this conversation, obviously. We love everybody. Good job. You're doing a great job. Moving on. Is my fave things a Christmas song?
Yes.
I don't know that song, so I don't know.
These are a few of my favorite things. That song.
Well, no, that's from Sound of Music. That's not a Christmas
but I
song.
only hear it at Christmas, dude. I only hear like that tune
Really?
during Christmas.
Weird. Yeah. I've never heard that outside of, I don't know, people singing it or the Sound of Music. So
yes, I say it is.
All right, cool. Works for me.
I hear it.
I was in the Sound of Music in 8th grade, and I was one of the Family Von Trapp cast, which was great. Except
what
for I
day
was the
was
one.
it? Wait, what season was it when you were doing it?
What?
Like, what season was the play during?
Oh, it was spring, I believe.
But
we practiced probably in December at some point. So yeah. There you go. That's something. It was Christmas. The whole thing was Christmas. But no, all that to say, I was Friedrich, who I was like, cool, I'm one of the like family, and that's awesome. I'll get to be on stage a bunch. Literally, Friedrich has like 7 lines in the play. One of them is more than one sentence. All the rest are like one words. So that was my experience of being Friedrich. The end. Moving along. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
No.
I don't know, man. I've never seen it. So honestly, like,
it's funny because it's the same logic that they like. It's like it takes place during Christmas, and it's like I only hear this during Christmas. No.
You're just trying to be contrarian. That's all.
Yes, 100%. Because I don't care one way or the other.
True. Are books better than their movies? Harry Potter, Hunger Games, Lord of the Rings, etc. 100% depends. You can't. No. I mean, for me personally, enjoyment-wise, no. Like, yeah, I very much prefer, even if the book has better content than the movie does or whatever, I'm going to enjoy the movie better.
For me specifically, there's a tier list of like how likely am I to engage with thing, and like I'm way more likely to engage with a movie of a thing than the book of the thing, especially if I'm not already interested in said thing. Like it's I gotta be freaking down to read a book about something or be forced to. You know, like.
So, I mean, and I've definitely heard cases, like, there's plenty of movies that the movies aren't as good as their books on, like, a critical standpoint or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, like, there's also some movies. I know my mom said Forrest Gump, the movie, is better than the book Forrest Gump, which I didn't know was a book for a long time until she told me that. But, like, in the book, the things that he does are like even more outlandish instead of like just, because he's like the ping pong champion of the world in the movie and he runs across America and all that stuff. In the book, he also goes to space and he also like does some other things. It's like,
oh my God, yeah,
even less realistic, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know the details, but all that to say, depends on a case-by-case basis. Last question, will we ever see Parker's wife /Ashley spelled different ways? It's the first one. It's the normal one. You got it. In a video, or will she forever live in name only? I don't know. I'll ask her.
I don't know.
I'm sure she could show up as a cameo or something. I don't think
Wait,
she
hasn't
feels
she
like
been like in pictures on
I
I feel like you've
yes.
shown her
I
before.
think I put a picture of
And you 100% have tweeted pictures of her and stuff like
yeah. It's not like that. I mean, she follows me on Twitter, and it's not
yeah.
like I mean, she doesn't post anything on Twitter, so it doesn't really matter.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. Some point maybe, but she's not gonna like say a whole bunch because I don't think she wants to. So
Mhm.
whatever she wants. And the last one from Twitter. Oh no. We'll rhyme with Chris the Butte.
Uh
A twisty toot.
sure.
That's where we're going. I hope
Sure.
you enjoy. That's probably your best nickname ever, honestly. I don't know. Kiwi are good fruit theoretically. It's rare to get a perfect sweet kiwi. Most of the time, they're too acidic or not sweet enough. Thoughts, Parker and AJ?
No. I disagree with this on
You already know.
principle.
And likewise, I agree with it on principle. I mean, for real though, I've definitely had like, I don't know that my experience has been so much like acidic versus sweet thing, but like definitely some too mushy kiwis has been a thing. But I haven't eaten enough to like have a whole spectrum of my own. So, but if that's your opinions of it for theoretical kiwis, I'm down.
I've had some pizza that was like, they put the wrong toppings on it.
Uh-huh. See, okay, here's the one difference I'll make between pizza and like pears, fruit, whatever.
Or literally anything, literally any food I've had when it was like
So and I get that, but the difference being that the pizza is cooked, made, put together, multiple ingredients, whatever, whereas the fruit is just its natural state. You know what I'm saying? Like, so in that case, like,
but a lot of times it's not. Like how many times have you literally just picked a pear off of a tree that was in nature and it wasn't farmed, it wasn't handled by any companies or in a grocery store or like it's not just something that just
I'm still saying even I mean it's not just like coming straight off a tree, but at that point they're trying to get some variety of like this is regular old pear, and like even if it's a little bit manufactured differently, it's still not like a different recipe for a pear. It's just like it's a pear that's treated a little bit differently than it was elsewhere or whatever. Whereas pizza is like, this is a different way of doing pizza.
But even then, it's like just straight up cooking a steak. You could cook a steak with the same exact like ingredients, but if the preparation isn't as good or the handling of the steak isn't as good, it can be worse.
Even that though, it's a steak isn't a cow. A cow would be more like a pear because that's the thing. But then you do more things to it to turn it into a steak. Whereas a pear, you don't like. I don't know. If you diced up,
there are different ways to grow it and all that stuff. And there's
like a cow. Do you grow a steak? I don't think so.
Oh my god.
I'm so right. You can't even believe how right I am. Moving on. Discord questions. These are the last couple questions. Rise Gang asked, what's your favorite type of Zelda game, whether it be 2D or 3D, and why?
Overall, 2D, because most of the 3D Zelda games suck. But because Breath of the Wild exists, 3D.
I think I would have said 3D regardless. Even without Breath of the Wild.
Because you're freaking
great.
I'm great.
And have a cool sweater with deer on it. Oh, where's that? Yeah. It's deer. Maybe it's a wolf. I've always said deer, but like maybe it's like, howling into the wind. Or is that a deer? What do you think?
I think it's it could be a wolf, I guess, but I think it's a moose.
Maybe it's no, that's a deer. I don't know. This big, like, it's got a big chest that seems not very deery,
Deery.
So you said 3D Zelda because all of the 3D Zeldas are the best? Is that what you said?
Because they're bad.
What?
But Breath of the Wild is good.
Yeah, it is.
There's one good 3D Zelda game that's not Breath of the Wild, and it's Wind Waker. All the rest of them, throw them in the garbage.
Blasphemy.
I mean, Skyward Sword is fine, I guess, too. But like,
do you feel like Twilight Princess is bad or is just like mediocre to you?
I mean, like in the context of most Nintendo games, if I say a Nintendo game is bad, it's the
Right,
same
yeah,
thing
yeah.
as like most Smash Brothers characters being bad. It's like if you're
Right.
bottom 40, you might as well be bad. If there's
Mhm.
40 things that are better than you, you're not good.
So okay, let's
And
go 2D Zeldas then. What would you put above Twilight Princess? Obviously, A Link to the Past.
A Link to the Past, Minish Cap,
Mm-hmm.
Link's Awakening,
Mm-hmm.
um, what other ones did I play? The Oracle games.
Mm-hmm.
What's the other one? The freaking Wind Waker thing
I'm not
on the
telling you.
DS. On the DS, Phantom
Phantom
Hourglass.
Hourglass? See, I actually haven't played Phantom Hourglass. There's a couple of those. Phantom Hourglass,
I only
Sphere
played
Tracks,
I only played
and
Phantom
Minish Cap I
Hourglass.
haven't played. So
I only played that one.
I don't know.
Out of that, like the
Mhm.
the other one, the other Wind Waker handheld
Sphere
thing.
Tracks.
Yeah, that one. I never
Yeah.
played that one, but I played
Same.
Phantom Hourglass.
So yeah, 3D Zelda is better. It's really fun to be better.
Nice.
John Francis said,
Mhm.
I know. I should have added this one on Twitter, but I just saw the event. Will digital events, like they're doing for Monster Hunter Rise, be the new Direct? And if so, how will fans react?
I don't think
I don't think it's new because they've already been doing
they've
that
been
kind of
doing
thing.
it
And that's
forever. Yeah.
that one wasn't even labeled as a Direct. It was just a third party because it's
Yeah.
still like Monster Hunter is still third party. It's just exclusive on
Uh-huh.
Switch for now, at least.
Right.
So, but I mean, they did that for for like Smash.
I think
Fire
they
Emblem
did it
Three
for
Houses.
all of the Monster Hunter games that
Yeah,
were like, even Monster Hunter World. I think they did an event like that.
Probs. But I mean, that said, I could, like, if for every Twitter drop they do, there will probably be more standalone presentations as well.
But that's
So,
also already the case.
yeah.
Like that's been the case this year. Like the it's funny like watching Wolf Den Live when they were talking about the directs and stuff like that of like how many directs there were this year. There were like the way people talk about it, they're like there hasn't been a direct in years, dude. It's been so many, but there are directs. They're just all these like caveats that fans make up where it's like, well, it wasn't exactly like this one, so that's
yeah. So there it is. Last questions from Dirt Marco says Gen 4. It's annoying everyone wants it. No patience anymore. LOL. I sort of don't want it to be revealed in the next Direct to see the rage of the fandom, but honestly, I'm sort of tired of waiting for myself. It was my very first video game ever, and one of my favorite ones too. So Gen 4 all the way. What do you think would happen if they didn't announce Gen 4? Will the fans go crazy and revolt or settle down and relax?
Well, it's Pokemon, so there's no way that it's going to be united on any front at all. There's going to be people doing both. Yeah. Like even like this video, the video that I made about like the collections and stuff like that. There's so many people that wanted to be they were mad just because they wanted to be mad. And like the first comment I saw was like, I didn't watch the video, but my brain turns off when I see those first few words. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna read your comment. So yeah, I think that there's going to be a mixture of both of those things, regardless of if they announce it or not. Probably, especially if they announce it. Honestly,
yeah. Do you think people are already like expecting Gen 9? I couldn't imagine that they would.
I think people don't want them to. Like the people that are mad about Gen 8 don't want Gen 9 anytime soon because they're right. Spend 10 years making this game.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like people at this point expect Gen 4, but also at the same time, it depends on what they would show instead of it. So if the thing that they show it's hard to say. I don't know anything. You're right. Not about me not knowing anything. No, just about like the Gen 4, your opinions on it and stuff. I don't have anything to add is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
And we don't have anything to add to this podcast because it is done. So that's it. We did it. Yay. We're going to talk to you guys another time. And that's it from us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.